From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio, this is 365 Sports. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
Men's basketball championship. It's the week of the Masters and a lot more to get to. We'll have Von Miller as one of our guests today, the great former great A&M player and also two-time Super Bowl champion. Plus today we'll hear from Macio Teague, former Baylor national champion guard, who's in Italy playing in a league over there. Tim Brando today. It's been a while. Shane Ryan on the week of the Masters too. And Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak, and we do appreciate your time. Well, it is UConn. It is Michigan. It is two teams that are tough as hell. A battering ram with what Michigan did to Arizona. And, of course, UConn getting done taking out Illinois. These two teams, I thought Arizona and Michigan were on a collision course, but it was like a Sherman tank right over Arizona. This is it's a collision course, and it's UConn. They've won 2 of the last 3, and Michigan trying to win another one.
Yeah, I think if that was the first time you've watched Arizona all year, you're probably confused as to how they got that far. And that was the biggest outlier maybe in the history of a college basketball season for a team to get stroked as bad as they did by Michigan. And we'll never know how much the the Tommy Lloyd to UNC thing may have affected them. We spoke on it from experience, just watching Baylor go through 2 bowl games where the coach staying or going was in question, and either one of those scenarios happened. Both of them did. Matt Rule left. Coach Briles stayed, and both those games they lost. It won't convince me that it wasn't at least a part of it this week, that the players, the teams, the coaches were all thinking about North Carolina in one way or another, and it affected their preparation for it. Michigan is an offensive juggernaut, 90 points in all 5 games. So, maybe we undersold Michigan as a viewing populace, but that was the biggest outlier of a basketball season I think I've ever seen.
That was a hell of an ass whooping by the Wolverines. I mean, was at a birthday party on Saturday night and was all anxious to sit back. They had a nice little screen in this restaurant. I was going to kick back and really enjoy the game. And I mean, it was on, but after a while, it was like, hey, this outcome has pretty much already been decided, and it was clear Michigan was going to win that game. I mean, they were great down low. They were much better shooting, obviously, got out to a big lead early on, and were able to just pretty much have their way. I mean, it was very shocking how unbalanced that game was from a competitive standpoint. Because I'm like you guys, I had Arizona win the national title. Not that I'm any of these basketball hoops experts by any means, but I know I wasn't alone. They were a very popular pick, but you know what? So was Michigan for good reasons. Mm-hmm. And Arizona was the number 1 team in the country for a long while, but Michigan also had their fair share of the spotlight. So 2 great teams, but one really great performance by the Wolverines has them still playing tonight. And for Arizona, I mean, it was a great year, a lot of accolades, a lot of accomplishments along the way, but disappointing anytime you get this close, so close you can taste it, and you fall not just short, but you have a game like that where it's one of your worst games of the entire year. Yeah,
they were mauled. Michigan, Paxton sent me a text early on. It was already 12 or 14-point game, maybe longer, more. And he said, this one's over. And then Arizona got it back within mid-single digits, and then Michigan just turned on the Jets. They've outscored their opponents in the tournament by over 100 points, including hammering hammering Arizona in that game, among others along the way. Every game has been them thumping people. So it's UConn and Michigan. We'll give you the update of our 365 Sports Pick'em, the bracket madness, and who now, still the same leader, but is there anyone else that can catch Dave Loverood? We'll have that in a little bit. Yaxel Lendenborg is okay. Apparently, he's going to be able to play. There were concerns about both teams with injuries. Dusty May saying that, no, the knee is clean based on an MRI, and so he will play tonight. Who do you have, Paul?
I'll take Michigan. I think they've got too much offense, but I mean, Dan Hurley is the best coach going right now, so it's hard to bet against him. I just think they have a little bit too much offense for Connecticut, who's not they're not a team that can reign like that, but they play great defense. I don't expect Michigan to get to 90 in this one, but I expect them to be in the 80s.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning Michigan as well. I mean, I don't have a real strong opinion one way or the other, but I know my brother-in-law is convinced that Michigan is going to win tonight based on our conversation, and I think he's kind of influenced me to feel like that might be the case as well. But I'm also looking at Dan Hurley and going, he's pretty good, so I think he'll have a game plan ready for the Wolverines. But it ought to be a hell of a game. I mean, that's really what I'm looking forward to. Probably like a lot of people out there is just, hey, make it competitive, make it interesting, and make it fun. This is the last game we technically get in college basketball, even though, I mean, there's still a couple postseason tournaments going on, or is everything wrapped up with this one?
No, the NIT plays well. They
so
still
this won't be the end of college basketball. It's kind of the end of college basketball. So, yeah, I hope for a great send-off, and these are two damn good teams. And again, Michigan just really impressive the other night. I mean, I thought Arizona's freshman. Do you feel like that was part of the equation, the veterans versus?
I said, by the way, Auburn beat Tulsa to win the NIT last night. That's no longer still a tournament.
So that's also over.
I think Arizona's got. Remember, their freshmen are there's some dudes, but Michigan on the one follow-up, there was a follow-up missed shot. I forgot. Just goes up and grabs the ball, gets fouled, and slams it, and it was like watered off a duck's back.
Yeah, Braden Burries the other night had 2 air balls that made me wonder if his contacts were in. Like they were just so off, so off. And I think that they got flustered early in the game when they couldn't get any shots to fall. And in spite of how good and deep Arizona was, they were not a team that shoots a lot of threes. So if Michigan is coming out and bombing threes and you're not hitting anything and you have this big gap, I think it really got in their head.
Double the number of threes Michigan made compared to Arizona, 12-6.
Yeah, I mean, just the offense was not there for Arizona. I mean, they're probably about even actually down low, but a lot of second chance for Michigan, and that size was obviously pretty problematic. I think the seasoning as well played a factor when Arizona's got great players, but they're a bit on the younger side. So, yeah, I was real impressed by Mara. Obviously, Lindeborg gets a ton of attention, but Mara was really a big factor the other night. And, yeah, I think Michigan's the team I'm rolling with, although it's UConn, man. Like, I mentioned this to you guys on Friday, the history out there, and I'm sure it's probably been all over the place. But when I was doing the research the other night, I mean, if Connecticut wins a title tonight, that's 3 and 4 years, as most of you know, but that's the best stretch of national championship basketball since John Wooden and UCLA.
Yeah, Duke and Coach K had a pretty good run, but no, that would be comparable to what Wooden and UCLA did.
How can you? And the thing about it is, how can you do that now? How are you able, if they win, to get 3 and 4 years and retain players and get new ones and not have just a massive scattering?
Because of how Dan Hurley demands what he demands, and also the culture. It's a huge UConn basketball, man. That's what they do.
But it is. But it's so strange in this era to have a team be able to be in 3 out of 4 championship games, much less even get to that, like to the point where they win it tonight. It's just so hard. Michigan has got a great team, but Yaxel Lindeborg's going to be in the NBA next year. They've got a bunch of seniors. Dusty May's going to have to completely rebuild that. Alex Caravan's been there the whole damn time. He hadn't left. It's just like it's
the culture, man. That's what they talk about. When you have the culture like that, you're able to just kind of run it back, no matter how much the turnover is there on the roster. But I do think that to potentially win 3 out of 4 in this era, to be the first to do that since UCLA. And, yeah, Duke's had some runs and others have had some runs, but nobody's done that, has won 3 titles in 4 years. And then, as I mentioned the other day as well, I mean, I'm intrigued by these kind of things. Like when football season rolls around, I'm going to go look at the all-time wins like a couple weeks before. And I'll be like, all right, where's Michigan all-time? Where's Texas, Ohio State, Oklahoma? Like, who can jump who? I get into that sort of thing. But it would be what did I say the other day? It would be title number 7. Jumping over North Carolina. But then again, if as much of an accomplishment as that would be, and they would move behind only UCLA and Kentucky all time, if Michigan goes and wins number 2, not only does that put them in a new category as far as 2 national championships, which is not probably as big of a club as you think, but based on what the women's basketball champion was and the football champion was, like the Big Ten, it might be just their year as far as the conferences go, because they've already taken a couple pretty big titles this season. But that's bigger picture stuff in general. 2 really good teams, 2 great head coaches, and Dusty May trying to get his first title. Dan Hurley trying to join another exclusive club, joining the likes of Bobby Knight and others with 3 titles. I believe Jim Calhoun as well. Obviously, the UConn connection there. So a lot of cool stats and fun notes that could come out of tonight's game, either adding on to an incredible resume since 99 for UConn basketball and for Dan Hurley in just the last few years, or Michigan kind of resetting this bad boy and going and putting themselves in another place by winning a second title themselves.
Michigan, by the way, with their 5 starters, did you guys realize that I got to make sure on this one, that I know for sure 4 of their 5 starters, all of them were from the transfer portal. But it wasn't as if they were stars where they were. Well, UAB, Illinois, UCLA, North Carolina, Texas Tech, Alabama, but they weren't all stars. They just kind of meshed together when Dusty May took over.
I mean, I remember seeing the $10 million price tag that was floating around there as far as their roster goes. And I don't know how accurate that was proven, or if that's maybe lowballing it or what. But, yeah, they went out and spent a lot of money in the transfer portal. That's a big part of the reason why they're here. Yeah.
Well, yeah, for example, I mean, Namari Burnett, this is his 3rd year at Michigan, but he was at Texas Tech, never started a game. Alabama started 9, didn't really score much. So some of these guys are big names now and also making good money, but Dusty May, what you have to do, did a great job of whatever he could spend, a lot or not, and making this thing mesh together. And speaking of Dusty May,
#1 transfer portal class in the country last year. So yeah, they
based on what, talent, or based on rankings, or based on money, or all?
I mean, what do they rank transfer portal classes by? I guess talent and star rankings or whatever. But yeah, that was what Michigan went out and did. So that's not a total shock that it's found them here, because they invested heavily. Yeah.
Yaxel Lendeborg had a great pre-draft camp in Chicago at the NBA, and people were, oh man, we got to get this kid. But a lot of the advisors told him, I mean, you were JUCO and the UAB, take the big money at wherever was going to get you at that point, which was more than likely going to be Michigan, but there were other people. Obviously, he could have gone wherever he wanted. And so that's proved out to be a great decision for him, because now he's a lottery pick. Yeah. And last year, he would have been a first-round pick, but he would have been a lottery pick.
Johnson averaged 7 points a game.
I mentioned Morrow. That was another guy. Lindeborg. Those guys have all paid off in a huge way. And I think St. John's was also in that running for the best class. And I don't know how – I just know that Michigan, and that was widely talked about, and read that more than a few times over the last, I guess, month of March when profiling them. So yeah, that was definitely a key to them being here tonight. And UConn obviously has been here, done that for a while. So it's going to be a clash, man. It's going to be great.
Elliot Cadeau, the guard, was like, he was nuclear hitting threes, and it started to be almost like he was 1-on-5.
Another guy, yeah.
Another transfer. He came from Carolina, averaged 7 points a game. And this year at Michigan, averaged just over 10, averaged 9 for Carolina a year ago. Dusty May removed his name from consideration at North Carolina. More on that in just a moment. He'll be staying. Of course, Tommy Lloyd on Friday did the same thing for Arizona. So what does that mean? The initial reports came out that it would be Billy Donovan. We'll get to who North Carolina today hired, who has NBA ties, in just a moment. But let's look, you mentioned Hurley. This is Dan Hurley compared to Wooden, Krzyzewski, Roy Williams, and Billy Donovan, all of them who have had great success. He has won nearly 80% of his games in the NCAA tournament. He is 19-5. We know what he is when it comes to getting to the tournament and getting deep, winning 2 championships already. UConn has now won 19 consecutive games in the Sweet 16 or later. Last lost in the 2009 Final Four, and tonight they play for another natty.
Yeah, and he last week, I think, kind of dunked on himself a little bit and acknowledging that he's not the most normal person. And as much as his fans sometimes try to gaslight us as though, no, he's totally, what you guys just have a bone to pick. Like, he's even himself come out and be like, yeah, man, I'm kind of like, I could be kind of crazy. He's one of those, I think if he's your coach, you love him. And if he's not, you probably don't. But I've been entertained by him, and I'm not going to argue with anybody, however you feel about his behavior or what have you, his antics, I guess, if you will. Nobody can argue he's an excellent basketball coach and maybe the best coach in all of college basketball right this very moment. And I think that would be absolutely the case if he wins tonight. And it might be the case even if he doesn't win tonight. But he's as I said a few moments ago, in some rare air where if UConn wins the title tonight, they're the third all-time winningest program national championships-wise. And the amazing thing about that, and I mentioned this on Friday as well, but the amazing thing about that is you go look at UCLA, and they're 11. All right, 64, 65, 67, 69.
They won like 10 of 11 and 11 of 13.
10 of 12 is what they won. So and then there was the 70s, the early 70s, they won some, and then they won just some random title 20 years later in 1995.
I think Jim Herrick was the head coach on that team,
But they won in 1995, and that was it for UCLA. And then Kentucky, you look at their history, and it's the 40s, it's the 50s, it's the 70s and 90s, and even one just a few years ago in 2012. So they've been spread out. You look at UConn's third, maybe all by themselves, jumping over North Carolina tonight if they win the title. It's all been done since 99. All of it. 6 at least, maybe 7 tonight will all have been done in less than 30 years, which I just find that to be remarkable. And for him to take 3 of those potentially and have done that in a 4-year period, much like we're talking about the team up against the old UCLA teams. But, yeah, you start talking about some very rarefied air as a head coach where he does join Bobby Knight, Jim Calhoun, and those types of guys. And next thing you know, he's one away from Adolph Rupp.
Yeah,
he's talking about Adolph Rupp territory, and then you go past Adolph Rupp, and there's like a couple guys. It's like Coach K and John Wooden, and that's it. That's it as far as titles go. So, yeah, I don't know what we'll be talking about in 10 years, but he's a hell of a coach, and rare territory.
Because I'm a little bit weird. Just a strange bit. I love watching him. I really do.
I'm sure.
Did you see the interview today with Dusty May? Yeah. They did an interview with Dusty May for CBS Sports, and they both, as they're talking, they both look at each other and they rub foreheads together. So he's having fun with that, and of course having fun winning.
I wonder. I think Dan Hurley was really smart to turn down the Lakers, because I would not want to be the coach in my first NBA job who is, okay, finish it out strong for LeBron. That's a lot of pressure, and it's not completely fair in all of those ways. I think JJ Redick probably is the guy with the ego for that personal job and in all that. And he had a longer standing relationship with LeBron anyway. But I do wonder how long he'll be able to ward off the NBA, especially if there's 2 expansions team coming. Like if you're Vegas or if you're Seattle and you've got a guy who can clearly build, and like he did at UConn, like doesn't he make a lot of sense for you? Or if you are a team that's, say, pretty good, like for a long time, like, do you bring him in after your other guy leaves? Like if you're Golden State and Steve Kerr retires, do you get Danny Hurley and say, all right, let's see what happens here? I don't know. Like I do think the NBA will eventually get it.
If it works, and that doesn't mean there have not been disciplinarians that have coached the NBA before, former college coaches, but it's a different animal with who you're dealing with.
I think
and how they respond to you.
I think that's something that could be in his cards in the future. I think, though, that he's a guy who, if you've listened to him, he's obsessed with dynasty and building a dynasty. And you can argue that maybe they've at least formed the foundation of that with a couple titles. If they win tonight, that's a dynasty. 3 and 4 years, that's a dynasty. You're the first to do it in 5 decades. So that's his goal. I don't know, like, what quenches your thirst, though. There's a high school football coach in Carthage, Texas, who seemingly never gets bored of winning state championships. And then it was like, oh, well, my son's got to graduate. Well, guess what? His son's graduated. Has he left? No, he's still sitting there at Carthage, Texas, trying to win as many titles as possible. And you would think, like, don't you want to go to Allen or like Denton Ryan or something? But, like, why? When you're that dominant and you're going to be the winningest head football coach in Texas high school football history. I mean, where is Scott Surratt on that list?
He's only he's got the most. He's
titles.
Gone by Gordon Wood. He's gone by G.A. Moore. He's gone by Todd Dodge. Just blown by.
So he's built a dynasty,
and
you
the
would
guy
think
at Aledo too.
You would think that maybe you'd move on, but no. So for some guys, yeah, they continue to build it out. I think Dan Hurley will probably get an itch at some point. I just don't know if it's right now. And I also wonder, like, how would he translate to the NBA? If he could he be exactly the way he is now with NBA players? I mean, basically college players are minor league NBA players. I mean, as far as the money even goes at this point. So maybe that's been something that's less of a concern because you are kind of already dealing with contracts and things of that nature. But yeah, I think he's teased it enough that's a possibility that's more than just a what if. I think we could legit see that happen. I just think when you're in the middle of a run like you are right now, I think you let this baby ride and see where you can take it. Because if you're somebody who really does love dynasties and building that out, I mean, hell, at least let it slow down first. But right now, you're going 90, baby. No reason to pull off the road.
Well, just a few weeks ago, he said, "You better get us now. Better get us now because even more is coming."
And he said,
"Here's a note from Illinois." Go ahead.
Said maybe the NBA down the line. He hasn't shied away from that.
Illinois in that game against UConn. Look at this note. Their fewest points in a game over the last 3 seasons have been 52 points against UConn in 2024 Elite Eight. UConn in 2025, 61 points, 62 points against UConn on Saturday. So UConn has their number, even though Illinois was really good with Brad Underwood and company, but they have shut them down with whatever they have when it comes to not only did they just play really good defense against the Fighting Illini, including on Saturday. Illinois just they made it right, then 8, then back to 12. And it just wears you down, and they didn't have enough, and UConn wins that semifinal game. North Carolina has a new basketball coach, Michael Malone. He won an NBA championship in 2023 at Denver. In 2020, was it 24-25? 3 games left in the regular season, they fired him. He's been an analyst for various NBA shows, studio analysts, etc. They hired Bill Belichick, an NFL coach, and now they've hired an NBA coach, very successful, who had a job. He needed a job. And he gets the job with the Tar Heels after we mentioned Dusty May and others, TJ Otzelberger. Who am I missing? Oh, Tommy Lloyd. They all basically said no.
Well, we only know that Tommy Lloyd's the one that turned him down because he said he did. I mean, publicly said that he turned the job down. Dusty May just said he wasn't going to go for any other jobs, which might have been preemptive in that maybe he got down the road, maybe he didn't. We don't know those details. But what we do know is that Billy Donovan, expressed interest in the job, but he did tell them it's going to be when the bowl season is over, which is April 12th. And so that's 5 days after the portal opens, which in portal math, it might as well be 50 years because so much stuff is going to happen so fast. Really, at least from a perspective of if you were trying to get an NBA coach, and that's what you really wanted, you wanted Billy Donovan because he's an NBA coach, but he also had those 2 titles. Well, if you were going to get him on your timetable and Mike Malone is sitting out there, then why not go get Malone? And you have your NBA coach. Obviously, he hasn't been in college for a very long time. I think since 2001 or 2 when he was an assistant at Manhattan, where our buddy is now. But at Manhattan, now he comes in. It's very much like Bill Belichick. I think it'll be a little different for basketball. He has the connection to Nikola Jokic, where his agent and Malone are close. That's going to feed a lot of European talent into North Carolina. It depends on who he has on the staff, but this is a very interesting. I don't want to say it's out of nowhere, but it's definitely a left turn from Tommy Lloyd.
Stop and think about it. Yeah. I knew about him because I remember he won at Denver. That was a great team, but I didn't even know what he was doing right now. And I go, oh my God, he did get fired by Denver.
I think it's a really interesting hire. I think it's one that will only be determined by how the next few years go and to have some knee-jerk reaction that, oh, it's going to fail or, oh, it's going to be great. I just wouldn't feel comfortable, nor do I lie to the audience when I give my opinion. So I have no earthly idea on how this will work out, but I commend North Carolina on taking a big swing and getting a high-level head coach who's got the NBA experience. And as much as we hear about coaching hires nowadays, I mean, you still typically hire the former college coach or the guy with a lot of college experience. But we are seeing, especially in GM and AD roles, all types of outside the box hires, and hiring a former NBA guy is not like totally outside the box, but it is for Carolina when this is outside of the Carolina family for the first time in a really long time, and also going the pro route and just feeling like, all right, I know it's been 25 years since you were still coaching college ball or even around the game, but you did win an NBA championship. You've coached arguably who at times is definitely the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic, among others. So I think that'll be really interesting for the recruiting side of things, to be able to flash that NBA title ring, to be able to say you've coached some of the guys that the Nuggets had and some of the biggest names in the NBA over the last few years. And he knows ball. So I'm intrigued. I mean, it's how I would have felt had they hired maybe not exactly Belichick, just because his resume had so many rings on it. And I don't think Mike Malone is like got the whole, well, that was Tom Brady's team kind of a thing going on. But mostly he doesn't have the whole girlfriend thing going on. Other than that, like, I commend North Carolina on the big swing. And clearly they are going a certain direction as an athletic department where they're just like, this is as pro sports as it can be without being pro sports. So we're going to lean into the pro sports. But yeah, this was not their first choice. I would be curious to know which choice it was. You mentioned a couple of guys. Like, we don't know if Dusty May got offered the job. TJ Otzelberger was one that
we don't. He just said, as Paul said, all he said was, "I'm taking my name out of consideration."
But we do know Tommy Lloyd got offered, and not in the way of like the guy, the beat reporter on Twitter says, "Well, he wasn't technically offered." Yeah, okay, that you're playing around with words and that's semantics. They wanted him to be the head coach, right? Right. Okay, cool. We can agree. We can move on. As far as Otzelberger, he didn't even allow them to probably even have much of a conversation because he shut that down pretty quickly. But yeah, I mean, I think all things considered, it could have been disastrous. I mean, the rumors started to point towards Scott Drew and various others, and I don't know what that would have looked like. But to wake up today and pretty shortly after this news drops, I'm like, okay, like I didn't expect that, but like, former NBA championship head coach, like, yeah, let's see what happens and what that looks like.
Yeah, he's got, support from Michael Jordan. He's got support from Roy Williams. They were involved in the hire. You can tell, like you said, Craig, the direction that UNC's athletic department is going in is, as college sports is more professionalized, we need to bring in more professional coaches, which I think is not a bad strategy. You just have to get the right ones, the ones who are going to be there for the long haul and do it. And he is a great X and O guy, Malone. And look, did you know anything about Nikola Jokic before Michael Malone came into his life?
I did not follow NBA Euros that closely.
I think I remember him.
Pre-Michael Malone, Nikola Jokic was like, oh, this is an interesting European guy. He doesn't, look like
I thought you were talking about like draft and stuff.
No. But interesting European player. Then Michael Malone comes along and he's the best player in the NBA 3 years running. I mean, that is unbelievable talent development that he got out of him. So yeah, he has that great relationship. You just saw what Illinois did with a team full of European players. He's got that in. He is also, and this is no offense to Brad Underwood in Illinois, but if you walk in and you say, hey, I'm from North Carolina, I'm from Illinois, the person who's probably going to get the first interview is the one from North Carolina, because they are, just among the basketball elite blue bloods in a way that most teams aren't. So he's got that here in the States. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how he builds the roster. And I think it's a really interesting hire, but is he ready to coach college sports? It's a different thing altogether, and it's far less organized than the NBA.
It's a different style of basketball.
Yeah. Do blue bloods, does that matter as much in the NAL era? I saw a story by, I think it was either Brett McMurphy or Dan Wetzel. I think it does.
I think
North
it does.
Carolina. But I wonder if it is as impactful as it maybe was even 5 years ago.
I think it does if all things are equal. Mm-hmm. Like if you are a blue blood, but let's say Western State University decides to offer $2.5 million more than you, is that your blue blood not mattering, or is that you're not paying nearly $3 million more for the same guy?
Yeah.
But if you're both offering $2.5 million total, and you're comparing like somebody who's never won a national championship versus somebody who's won a handful of them, then I think that matters. I think it matters on your visit when you walk in. Now, it may not matter as much as your relationship with your head coach or the money being offered, but I do think that if a recruit's sitting there and he's checking all of the boxes and he's not just favoring a head coach versus the other or favoring the money versus the other, and you're saying, all right, let's plan this out. Yeah, give me Carolina's arena and banners and Michael Jordan and James Worthy and like all these guys on and on and on. Yeah, I think it can still matter. It just doesn't matter maybe as often as it used to.
All right, we wrap it up on that, and then we'll get to a couple more. Then we have Macio Teague.
I think it matters in the final selling point on a lot of it, like Craig just said. But what it does matter on is where the Blue Bloods can't be the Blue Bloods anymore like they're used to. Rick Pitino talked about this, I believe, in that same article where he says there's not really Blue Bloods anymore. And Nick Saban found this out. You cannot stash big star talent that's undeveloped. Like you can't just go. Alabama couldn't have five-star offensive linemen waiting to play the next year. You know, maybe 2 of them stay, but 3 of them are going to go and play right away. And so that's just going to happen. Just like, you know, just North Carolina can't just have 4 redshirt freshman guys who aren't athletic or haven't honed their athleticism enough yet sitting on the bench waiting to play. Those guys are going to go somewhere else in a year.
Yeah, they're blocked.
So you can't,
they're blocked from playing.
You can't stash guys anymore. You have to hope that they go somewhere else and then you can get them later.
We see it particularly with quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Like you used to have a team that have 5-star starting quarterback, high 4-star backup, 4-star third string guy, and they would just wait. Or eventually one might transfer out for some reason or another. But now it's like, no, you can't. I mean, maybe Sark can do it to some degree, or Ryan Kelly because Ryan Day because he's the quarterback whisperer, so to speak. But even Ohio State still gets dinged with the transfers of quarterback. I mean, Texas still gets dinged and Alabama still gets dinged. So you can't just hold on to guys like you used to.
It's almost you can't just like hide them like you just can't hide them.
Yeah, we got this kid behind this kid and he really likes it here and he's going to stay.
Yeah,
that's it.
Nate Oates, he was a part of the story during basketball because of Bediako, and they brought him in. They were pretty good. But eventually they were knocked out of the tournament. He has signed a new contract. His AD Greg Burns said even, I think, after their loss that knocked him out of the tournament, he's not going anywhere. They now have, of course, put this together, and now the board must approve it. That's not a surprise. I never thought he was going to go anywhere either.
Boy, him and Will Wade in some recruiting battles will be really swampy and interesting.
Congratulations to West Virginia. It was the Crown Basketball Championship. They beat Oklahoma 89-82 to win it all. And Ross Hodge, remember, he was at North Texas, and I knew him when he was a JUCO coach and now at West Virginia. And they end up winning the tournament. You go, okay, big deal. It's a tournament. They all play. I watched a little bit of the tournament, not a lot. I didn't watch even much of the Baylor loss to Oklahoma, but I watched. These guys are playing their you know what's off. And West Virginia wins it. It's maybe a kickstart into what they do. The portal, of course, has a lot to do with that coming or going. But good job, Ross Hodge in his first year takes them to the Crown Basketball Championship.
Yeah, I think it may not be the March Madness that we all pay most attention to. And you ask, like, who cares? West Virginia fans care. West Virginia fans care. I think Oklahoma fans cared last night. Not that it was the end of the world that they lost, but I think if you're looking for signs of progress and just a good way for Lon Kruger to close out the year, or Ross Hodge in this case, then, hey, if you're in it, might as well win it, right? I mean, if you're going to go ahead and take part, why not win that sucker rather than just, we're here, we're gone, back to the offseason. So West Virginia took their opportunity to go play some winning basketball, got themselves a trophy in the process, got themselves a nice finish, a nice, happy, positive moment to close the year on, and a building block for Hodge moving forward in the next year. So I think it was a great deal for them. It's not the top of Sports Center, but it's a really big deal. I think I'm not trying to make it too big of a deal, but I do think it's a big deal for the program. It's a nice positive step.
The NIT can sometimes be debated, and that has launched people into really good next years. Of course, again, that might have been as much before the portal, but if you're going to get into the tournament, go win it. Don't opt out. If you're going to opt in, then go play it. And I thought everyone gave it pretty much all they had.
Well, you guys are missing the biggest point for the players that got paid.
No,
Well,
we've said that.
But I mean, like, that's the reason.
Yeah, every
it's a
time
good
they won a
deal.
game, they got more money.
They get paid. That's why they're motivated. That's why they're doing it. That's why the NBA guys on each roster didn't leave, because they got paid. I mean, that's why the fans will care and be excited. But that's why this tournament is going to put the NIT
Maybe
on
bowl
notice.
games should listen to that.
They should. You got to pay the guys. If you pay them, most of them won't leave. Now, there might be still a couple of them. Look, if you were at an 8-4 team that's going to have the number 1 overall quarterback taken, he might opt out, but everybody else might stay because they'll take the check.
Yeah, I just don't want to make everything about money, even though I know that it is. And I would say, though, as well, Paul, like Auburn really enjoyed the NIT. Like they may not got paid as much, but they really
didn't get paid at all.
Okay, so there you go. I don't even pay attention to the money side of these tournaments all that much. But yeah, I mean, Auburn seemed to be thrilled with their NIT victory. So yeah, I'm sure West Virginia, some of that was the money, but I don't know, based on some of the fan feedback I saw, it wasn't about good for these players and their dollars. That's why they probably cared. But not all of them are also seniors that are leaving. They're coming back next year. So this is something to build off of for the guys who will be back and say, yeah, this is how we finished strong last year. Here's the title that we won. And now you want to get into the big dance, obviously. But for Auburn and West Virginia, they're the only other couple teams that are going to end their season with a win and with a title outside of whoever wins tonight. So good, congratulations and good for them.
Nice win. Oklahoma was one of those, the last team. They're the last team that didn't get in. Auburn was in that mix. And so good to West Virginia, Russ Hodge, and the Mountaineers. We're going to wait to give you the standings of the Bracket Madness where we are with one game left. There's two guys can win it. One who has Michigan, who's been leading it the whole way, and one that has UConn winning, who can overcome the deficit that he had. He's picked both the semifinal games right. We'll have that a little bit later on in this show. Coming up next, he played on the 2021 National Championship team when Baylor smoked Gonzaga. What was it like the day of the game? Remember, that was COVID in Indianapolis. Now it's in Indianapolis. What was it like the night before? Did you sleep? Were you nervous? Were confident? What is it like? And the memories of Macio Teague, who's now playing overseas in Italy. He's next, and this is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, lowt.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, used to be. Do you have the same energy you had before? And it's not like you're my age. Do you feel more lethargic than before? Maybe it's something that you're taking a prescription, or maybe your diet, or maybe lack of exercise, whatever the combination is. But it also could just be flat out father time and low T testosterone. Dr. Kent Petty, I've said this now 1,000 times for him. Dr. Kent Petty can help you out. Go to his website. Tell him I sent you, pettycliniclowt.com, and he will set you up to get your blood work done. He gets the results, take care of that appointment, get the results, and then get back in touch with you that, your T level's lower than it needs to be. Let's work on a program to increase it to get you back to who you want to be. Dr. Kent Petty, pettycliniclowt.com.
That's my go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a T-fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
The selection here at Allen Samuels is great. They have a wide selection of vehicles. They go anywhere from a car to an SUV to a truck. I'm more of a car person myself. That's why I got a Chrysler 300 last. But my wife is looking for an SUV, which they have a lot of choices there. Anybody that's looking for a vehicle, I would recommend Allen Samuels.
Like Allen Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Allen Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, Your Bank for Life.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Ooh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Yeah, floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels.
We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
So what was it like today, the night before, throughout a long wait? The game tips off near 8 o'clock Central Time. What is it like to be in that moment? Macio Teague, former Baylor national championship guard, is now in Italy, and his thoughts about it. And he joins us now on 365 Sports. Macio, thank you very much for your time. It is great to see you. I know it's late at night, and even better that you're here. How you been, and how's Italy been for you?
Hey, I've been great. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Yeah, I've been great. Just playing basketball, still living the dream, and I have no complaints eating some Italian food. Seeing the culture out here, it's been amazing for me.
So Germany and Poland were your first 2 stops, and now you're in Italy. Do you have for me it would be Italy, but do you have a favorite so far?
Italy. It's not even close. It's not even close. Italy.
Macio, what was it like? You guys had you had the win, in fact, against Villanova. You had the win against Houston, and God, I know I'm missing somebody else, but then you get to Gonzaga, and this was a collision course, kind of like UConn and Michigan. What was it like the night before? Did you sleep well? And then the long wait to play that night for the championship.
Listen, so we played Houston in the Final Four game on that Saturday, and I went to sleep. I'm like, let me get a good night's rest before the game. I ended up waking up early at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I couldn't fall back asleep until right before my alarm went off. So going into the national championship game, and I was tired for the Houston game. I remember I was sleepy, but it's the Final Four game. So I was able to get myself up because it was a Final Four game. But going into the championship, I remember tip-off was at 9:27 p.m. And I'm like, yo, you know what? I'm going to just try something crazy. I'm going to go to sleep at 2 o'clock tonight because we don't have breakfast until 10 a.m. So I slept like a baby through the night. And that actually helped me going into the late game at 9:27 p.m. So that was an amazing strategy by me.
This is a random question about that. But a couple years ago, Baylor had a media event at Southern Roots Brewery here. And they had a Connect 4 championship. And I was in the finals against Coach Drew, and I was feeling really good about myself. Mm-hmm. And we got down really close, but he played me the whole time to get it there. I did not know that in the bubble you guys were playing Connect 4 all the time. Yeah. What did you get as good? I mean, he was fantastic. I'm going to tell you, a master. When he retires, he could go on the circuit if there is one.
I'll play Coach Drew. I'll hold you to that. I'll see how good he is. But I think I was the best. Actually, it was one person that would beat me, but I actually didn't win the tournament. I think Davion ended up winning it. But let me tell you what happened. I was playing him in the Final Four game. DK, the media guy, He was watching me and Davion play, and I knew I made a mistake, but it was like a kind of risky move that I was going to make. And Davion didn't see what was going on, and DK was like, "Oh," in the background. So Davion starts surveying the board, but if Davion didn't pick it up, I would have won on my next move. And I knew Davion wasn't paying attention. I was kind of sure of it. I was hoping on it until DK made the noise. Davion looked at the board for 3 minutes and was like, "Oh, I got it," and then he put his piece in, and I lost. I was so mad at DK. I still didn't forgive him to this day. But yeah, I got pretty good in the bubble.
You guys started that game, and Gonzaga, of course, they were favored. I know that there was that stare down when they were being introduced with you guys on the court. Did you just know, and we discussed this after the game too, but did you guys just know that they were in for a long, long night?
I think that we felt it. We sensed it. We just had a good group of guys, and I don't think that we ever thought that we were going to lose any game that we played in. Even when we were losing, I remember we played Iowa State, and they were beating us by a lot. And I don't think that the sense on the team was like that we're ever going to lose. So when we played against Gonzaga, it was like just another bump in the road. That's kind of how we looked at it. I know they were really talented, got a lot of NBA players on their team, but we looked at it as like a challenge. Like, yo, we feel like we're the better team, and we're going to win.
This game, the build up, let's just say the 3 hours before, where you start warming up, you start stretching, what was the key for you to keep to not get too excited, to not get too stressed, and to keep that focus in the build up to the night?
Right. I'm pretty poised as a person. So I was just trying to stay even keeled. I wasn't looking at my phone all day. You get a lot of texts. I had it on D&D pretty much all day. And, I was just hanging out, talking with the guys, just treating it like it was a normal day, treating it like it was just a normal game. And it was just a little bit more media and more time in between, like our shoot around, like the game time and normal shoot around and stuff like that. Like those were only differences. But to us, it was like that we were just going out there to play another game. So it wasn't really that complicated for me.
All right. We have asked Mark Vital this question. Was there true story about the champagne bottles in the hotel being delivered to Gonzaga's door?
Yeah. That's a true story. That's a true story.
It really was. They had one of those carts or whatever, hospitality carts that were delivering champagne to Gonzaga for the post-game celebration.
Yeah, that's a true story. They had the champagne there waiting to celebrate after the game, and they didn't get to use it. So unfortunate for them, wasted a lot of money on that.
Well, I'm sure they did. It's just sad champagne and not happy champagne.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll see that in Italy. There's happy wine and there's sad wine. Although,
a lot of wine out here.
Yeah, absolutely. Macio, one of the things I think that gets lost in the shuffle about your team, and I see it a lot, particularly with Connecticut, is people saw that Davion could get hot and hit threes. You could get hot and hit threes. You had Jared, all this kind of offensive scoring, but defensively, Davion, one of the best you ever see, but you and Jared, I don't think got enough credit for as good as you were alongside of it. You guys all kind of had the same MO when it came to guard play, didn't you?
Yeah, right. The reason was, honestly, at least my reason is that Davion was so good on defense. John, when he came in the game, was so good on defense, and Mark Vital was so good on defense. And a lot of times it would be those three on the floor, and then it would be me and Jared as the other two. And it's kind of like, well, man, they're playing defense at such a high level. You don't want it to be a drop off when you're playing. So like they kind of make you pick it up in a sense to where, because the coaches, they'll call you out in film, like, hey, look at this possession, and they'll call you out and single you out. So you don't want to be that guy. So that actually helped us out having those defenders at such a high level, because I think Mark was close to winning Defensive Player of the Year. I know John and Davion both won it. So yeah, they made us play defense.
How much do you guys, as former teammates, stay in touch with each other? Everyone's gone their different directions. Some still in the league, some in Europe, some doing something else.
Right. I just talked to LJ last week, earlier this week. LJ cried. No, he's not a fan favorite on the Baylor fan base, but amongst the team, we still love him. Davion, I talked to him probably a couple of days ago. Jared, the same thing. Mark, the same thing. So I keep in touch with a lot of the guys, actually. A lot of guys who were on the team, and we're all still pretty close. So that's like the craziest thing about college sports is that, well, the college sports that I was in, because we're all still friends to this day.
Well, you guys formed that through transfer portal and not playing and sitting out, like all those different things. Right. The experience of that is over now. You kind of go and you don't have to, you don't have to be patient anymore. You can go and play right away. Do you think that would have affected your team if you guys could just play right away, or you guys all had a bunch of grinders anyway, just by nature? You were Davion, Freddie Gillespie, who was a year too early for that title, right. Also a grinder. It was just the nature of that team. Do you think you could have made it work even in a short time?
Yeah, I do think so. Maybe within 2 years, I think so. But because I think within 2 years, because I think that really what happened was Tristan had got hurt, and then they revamped like the whole play style. We just started playing fast and shooting a lot of threes, and that changed a lot of things. So I think if we would have had that year going back, or the year that Tristan got hurt in that summer, I think that we could have made things work. And I'm sorry to use that as an example, because that was my roommate, but that's the reality of what happened. So
yeah, he adjusted to because mainly it always had the big guys, the big post players inside but then all of a sudden changed and it worked. And so you feel like no matter the last couple of years, which have been disappointing, especially this year, that Scott will find a way?
Yeah, for sure. He's a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, he found a way from the death penalty. So I got a lot of faith in Coach Drew. And I have no doubts that they'll get things turned back around. And to be honest, I saw a graphic that said that since Kansas won the tournament, that they've been around the 32 every year since then. And it actually made me laugh, because I wonder if the Kansas fan base is as critical as they are on Bill Self as the Baylor fan base has been on Scott Drew and the tweets that I've been seeing about him. So I pretty much think that Coach Drew will get a turnaround. I got my whole faith in Coach Drew, and I'm not worried about a thing.
Macio, I married a Kansas Jayhawk, and they are I would not say they're as critical of Bill Self. They are not, because they won so many, but they are hard on the program now. Like, they are harder, especially with NIL, and as much money as even the ones that aren't paying for NIL, like just you kind of feel like guys are getting money. I would say the attitude for teams like Kansas is, well, these guys are making a lot of money. They need to be playing better. I don't think it's quite that easy.
Yeah. That's like anything. I mean, that's pretty much any sports situation. I mean, some guys might have a good year. You might pay a guy to come in and they might have shot 44% the previous year, and then they come play for you, and they've been getting the same good quality looks, but now they're shooting 36, and that affects your team. Like, that affects things that go on. So you can't control that as a coach. You can't control how well teams will play play together. And people are comparing college to sports. And honestly, they just revamped the whole team this past year at Baylor. If you go look at a team like the Lakers, they probably returned their entire core group of guys, and then they got 4 additional guys who are coming in to add to what the team already has. It's not like everybody's coming in from ground zero. So it's a little bit tougher than what people are making out to seem. Like, guys are getting paid, guys are going to play well together. It's tough on the coaches, and not only the coaches, the players as well.
So Davion, Jared, you, among others, who eventually transferred to Baylor, but you couldn't play right away. And so we hear about the practices in the gym and all of that. Would your story as a team turned out differently had you been able to transfer and play right away?
Yeah, I think so. Just because when the year I sat out, it was myself, Davion, and we had Freddie out of the guys that played on the scout team. And I think Davion and I developed a lot of chemistry, a lot of confidence in each other, just because we were always in the gym. Every time I went to the gym, I would always see him. Same with Freddie. And when Davion passed it to me, like, he wanted me to shoot it. Like, it's just something that comes with it. It's natural that you see somebody who's working for something that you want to see them succeed. So it was the same thing when I was in the gym with Davion. And I think us coming together and playing as a 3, and then adding to what the returning guys from the 2018-19 season brought to the Baylor program, I think that helped us flourish a lot.
So, all right, tick-tock, the game starts in about a little less than 4 hours. You mentioned that day before. Who are you going to pick, UConn or Michigan?
I picked Michigan. I picked them to win one of my brackets this year. So, I'm actually, I'm going to lose by 10 points. But if they win it, I'll feel pretty good about myself, about my pick.
Yeah, well, they were you surprised what they did to Arizona, as good as Arizona was this year?
Yeah, I was very surprised. But I think Michigan has the best player, Yax. He's an amazing player. He'll be in the NBA in the big leagues next year. So you got a lot of good group of guys around each other. Anything could happen. Same with UConn. So I'm excited to see the game tonight.
Yaxel Lindenborg and you have a lot in common. You both come from basketball playing moms.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
She balled too. I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't think you take on your mom one-on-one. Let's not do that.
Dr. Teague would.
Yeah, Dr. Teague. Look, I know that just that shot right there.
Yeah. My mom, she's still out there. Came out here to Italy, was getting up shots while she was here. So she still loves the game.
All right. So it's what time is it there? Like about 10:30, 11?
Yeah, about 11 o'clock.
You told me earlier today that you had to get up early, so you have given us more time than we expected. It's always great to see your face and talk to you, man. Always great to have you on whenever we can. Good luck. How many more games left in your league?
We got 3 regular season games left. Then we got the playoffs.
All right. Go do it. Thank you, Macio. Appreciate
it. Hope to see you this summer.
Yes, sir. I hope so. Let me know when you're in town. Let us know. We'll love to hear you and see you again. Macio Teague, a part of that dominant Baylor team that won the NCAA tournament in 2021 by blowing out what was previously unbeaten Gonzaga. Tonight, Michigan and UConn, and more on that. Tim Brando, Fox Sports. He also called the Crown Tournament, by the way, with West Virginia just winning. That's next. This is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco with Ted Teague, the CEO, general manager. David Gray handles the entire group, the staff of the men and women who are the ones who show you a car or more of what you want to at least look at, test drive, go over the numbers and so much more. And then you make your decision, and they're going to be there for you. Great staff, fantastic. A lot of pre-owned cars, by the way, on the lot. And yes, a new month and new incentives, new details, and more information on the Ram trucks that have been honored so many different times over the year. Jeep SUVs, the Grand Cherokee and the Wagoneer, and a lot more that's on the lot because Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
It's in the major leagues for 24 years. And let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Join the celebration. It's 27 years for Richard Car Motors, and we're celebrating with big anniversary savings. Get a 2023 Rogue Buick Enclave for $301 per month, or get a 2022 Chevy Silverado for only $446 per month, or a 2023 Volkswagen Jetta for $236 per month. All pre-owned cars and trucks on the lot are tagged with big anniversary savings.
Thank you, Central Texas, for 27 years. Log on, call, or come by today to find big anniversary savings now.
At Richard Car, we give you more. Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
Jimmy B will join us, Fox Sports, in just a moment, and always a great segment with him on many things. And, of course, the night of the national championship game, UConn and Michigan. Craig, you brought up earlier, obviously they have a coach, Michael Malone, with North Carolina. That job is filled. There was speculation, and it's interesting because I've seen a little bit, even in the chat room, Scott Drew's not going anywhere. Well, he damn sure looked at that Kentucky job. This one never seemed to get off the ground.
Well, I don't think it got off the ground because they ended up making a hire shortly after his name got floated. And so that's why I think it never got much off the ground, but it got some play the last 24 hours when Michael Malone wasn't on any of the radars I was paying attention to, at least. I mean, maybe he was mentioned at some point, but he certainly wasn't out there and out front and all of that. I still think, like, going back, if Billy Donovan was interested in the job, but you've got to wait another week, are you that, like, is that worth, like, do you think you'll dig yourself such a hole in 1 week's time? And I understand there's going to be players flying left and right across the board. But if you can get Billy Donovan a week later, like, you don't feel like you could salvage that. You couldn't wait, but that's something that I'm sure Carolina fans will be talking about for a while. But, yeah, after Dusty May put out there that he was not interested in the job, then you started to go, okay, well, who's there? Well, it's still Billy Donovan, of course. And as we come to know, like, he was going to finish out his season. But Scott Drew became one of those names that was getting floated as well. And I don't know how much was being added on by just malcontents throwing some gasoline on it to screw with people. But at some point, like, yeah, who else is North Carolina going to look at? Like a proven national championship winning head coach. And I know there's Baylor fans of the mind of like, well, Scott's never leaving. And I, too, was like, well, they just hired a buddy of his as the new athletic director. All we've said about Doug McNamee is, well, that's good news for basketball. Like, Scott Drew ought to be thrilled about that. But I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, about his name just being out there, I would not be surprised.
I think of it
as
an incredible compliment to Kentucky and North Carolina and Indiana and others. His name has been bandied about.
And Kentucky might have, like, you know, if things gone differently.
No, I think that was real serious.
He was going to be going to Kentucky, and it ends up not happening. But here you are, and now North Carolina at least starts to maybe kick the tires a little bit. So I don't know. I just found that interesting and kind of the reactions to that. So what are your opinions on just his name being out there for another big job? Is this inevitable, or I don't know how you all feel about it?
I don't think it's necessarily – it's always going to be inevitable when it comes up for especially for a blue blood. Like, you know, let's just say, because I think it's realistic that this is Bill Self's last year. You know, the names that are going to come up are going to be similar. It's going to be Ben McCollum. It's going to be TJ Otzelberger.
Byington.
It's going to be Byington. And it's probably going to be Scott Drew, even though I don't think that that's going to happen. But he's got a national championship and all these other guys don't. And so when you're, you know, when you're going for, okay, Billy Donovan has been an NBA coach for over a decade, and he has 2 national titles back-to-back at Florida. That's probably the diamond of the whole thing that you're going to get him. Because if you'd won an NBA title, you would think that you were not going to get him, although you just got an NBA title winning head coach in Michael Malone. Scott Drew is one of the only guys out there that is, you know, kind of available, or at least perception-wise available, and he's got a national title now. From the last 2 years, can you sell Scott Drew to North Carolina? I don't know. And that's a bigger part of it. Look, I think Scott Drew would kill it no matter where he went. I think he'd do a really good job, especially with the infrastructure that these programs have, in that he probably would never at North Carolina be faced with a situation like he was. And that's not a knock on Baylor of what happened this last year because of Rob Wright, but he would kill it anywhere he went. So, yeah, I think you'd be stupid not to consider Scott Drew if you're looking for someone who knows how to win a championship and did it from the ground up with far less resources at the beginning than anybody could have ever imagined.
So there we are with that. I thought the Kentucky came down to the night before or the morning he wakes up, whatever. This one here, when his name popped up, the first thing I thought about was not, I just said, And I even tweeted that. I think it's a great compliment. Hopefully that allows him to rebuild the roster even better because it wasn't that good last year and kind of gets him in a game. This guy's being recruited to coach Carolina, Indiana, Louisville, Kentucky, etc.
Yeah, he's one of the few coaches out there with a title, as y'all said, and I think I said as well. And it was just interesting to see, all right, if Carolina gets down the road, what does that look like? And look like it might be turning towards Scott Drew, but here's Michael Malone. So they went that route instead, and I think Doug McNamee and Scott Drew getting at least a year together will be fun to see how that goes and what they can provide and what this team and program can do to try to get back on track. Because, guys, I mean, they've made the tournament, but they have not made a run since the title we just talked about with Macio Teague, since those guys. And you know how long ago that was? That was 5 years ago now.
Yeah, they had the game with North Carolina up in Fort Worth when they were good. They were really good, and they fell down by 20-something, came back, forced overtime, but that ended early. That was the second-round game. They've had a lot of that and not getting to the next, which is not easy, but getting to a Sweet 16 like in the meantime.
It's not easy, but you got to like at least do it in like a 5, 6, 7 years. You got to make a Sweet 16, man. Like, come on, if you want to be taken as like one of the top programs in the country. So, yeah, they're playing around with a bit of a drought, but I mean, that title is going to hang up there forever and always matter a great deal. And I would not trade that title for a handful of Sweet 16s and coming up short for it. So he'll always have that. But yeah, I think if you're Baylor, anytime a big job opens up, that you hope they fill it quickly, because if not, Scott Drew is going to be a logical choice that people would turn to. And that's been evident for the last year with some of these big jobs that you mentioned.
All right. We will, a couple of things. I just heard from Tim Brando. He's running about 5 minutes late, so we're about to try to get to him. He's going to hook up here in a minute. Rez, if you don't mind, put up the standings. If you can, the Bracket Madness standings, 1 game left. It's either going to be first place or second place. Nobody else can catch David Loverood but Matt Pauley. So David Loverood, as far as I know, has led this thing from start to finish. He has Michigan winning. So if they win, it's in. It blocks out everybody. Even Zach Gelb, who does that show 1 until almost 3 with us, he's close but cannot catch David Loverood. Matt Pauley, this is a big-time comeback. He had a good bracket, but he got both of the semifinal games right. He had Michigan and UConn winning. That's like 320 points compared to 160 if you get 1 or 0, like a lot of us. And so he has a chance if UConn wins tonight, because he would pass up David Loverood for the overall lead. Jerry Brewer, Scott Mitchell, and then of us, as I call us, intangible others. Garrett Ross, he picked Houston. I picked Arizona. Paul?
Arizona.
Craig?
Arizona.
So that's our 4. Among those who entered it, there were others as far as involved too, but that is it. David Loverood or Matt Pauley will win it tonight based on its Michigan and or if it's UConn.
Yeah, I've never been a huge success story when it comes to leading the brackets, but mine fell off a cliff after the Sweet 16. I mean, was in really good shape and then just absolutely fell off a cliff with Iowa State getting knocked out and Arizona losing this weekend. So, yeah, congrats to the two-man race that's going to be contending for later on tonight. That's some high drama to see who emerges, and it'll all be, based off who wins tonight. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Glad. Thank you for those of you who joined, and so good luck to David and Matt tonight. I'm just looking forward to going home and watching a phenomenal game. Tim Brando, Fox Sports, joins us on 365 Sports, and we will get to that Crown Basketball Championship game with West Virginia and OU, which Tim was a part of that quite a bit. Tim, thank you for your time. I thought Michigan and Arizona was an eventual collision course. Well, it was a collision. It was a one-way collision. Your thoughts about UConn and Michigan and tonight?
Thank you, David. It's been a minute since I've been with you guys. And to everybody there, as far as their brackets go, ditto. I was looking really good through the Sweet 16 and then bottomed out like everybody else. I actually felt Houston could win it all. I thought I had seen enough of the second half of their season, that last 3 or 4 weeks, to think that Senac was coming along in the post, and Uzan and Sharp and those guys were. But you have a bad shooting night in a one and done tournament, that can happen to anybody. I mean, it's happened many times over. I think we were witness to that a little bit, in the national semifinals, because Arizona just you have got to make baskets early in the Final Four, and if you don't adjust, say by the under 12 time out of the first half, you're running out of time. Okay, and players know that, and the setting is so different at the Final Four. One of the reasons I felt that Michigan was going to win was they have so many out pitches. They can beat you in a variety of ways. The only team that has that surprised me beating them was Duke when they played in DC back in February, and I do think that'll be the blueprint for Danny Hurley tonight. And what Duke did was they sort of played the way Jay Wright's Villanova teams did 10 years ago, where each possession is going to be about 20 plus seconds. They don't really initiate much of their offense until the last 12 to 15 seconds. And there's never any panic in that, because they have confidence in so many different people to score. And that's a really great way to play if you have that many options. And that's what UConn, when you think about it, was able to overcome with Duke, okay, because they had a defense that would fight through, an 0 for 18 start and 3-point shooting, and yet the moxie to play hard enough on defense and not give up to come from 19 down. I'm not sure that Arizona's got that in their DNA, and that's what happened to them. Michigan wants to play really, really fast, and they've got answers at every spot. And they caught Elliot Cadeau, their point guard, at a really bad time, because he's making shots too. And when Cadeau is making shots too, then he's not turning it over as much. And there are times when Cadeau can turn it over. Couple that with Lindenborg, even with his injury, here comes another guy that can put it in. When they say they've got 9 starters at Michigan, they're right. I saw them in very early, actually it was late December at Maryland. Now, Maryland was not very good. We know that, but Maryland actually played an unbelievable game, had a 5-point lead at halftime, in College Park. And we were going, I was doing the game with Jimmy Jackson. We were both amazed that this Maryland team, which, had really struggled, was able to do that. And then Michigan just turned it up a notch. They were the best team that I saw with my own eyes during the course of the year. Now, this is, though, the championship game. And history will come into play early and often in tournament play. In the women's games, right? South Carolina looked like they were world beaters by beating UConn. Well, you know what? That turned out to be their championship game. They had nothing for UCLA yesterday, and Betts and the rest of that front line of UCLA took over. Well, everybody that's leaving from Saturday is saying, well, we just saw the national championship. You better think again, because we had 2 games that were under control in the semifinals, which means what? We're going to probably have a very close game tonight. And I think Connecticut is the kind of team, and they've got the right kind of coach to give Michigan a lot of trouble. And if the Wolverines don't see that ball going through the net as easily early as it did against Arizona, and I think that'll be the case, then we're in for a whale of a 40 minutes tonight. What's the spread now? 7.5? What is it? Something like that? I think we're going to be closer than that. I would take UConn in the points right now in this game. Michigan to win? Probably. But UConn in the points, definitely, in my mind.
Latest I see is 6.5.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
6.5 point favorite.
I'd still take UConn in the points. I would. I think we're going to have a wire game. I really do.
Tim, how much do you think the UNC thing affected the preparation this week for Arizona? Because I said at the beginning of the show today, if you watched Arizona all year, that wasn't only an outlier. Like, it was so far off the board for them in the way that they played overall that you can't even it would baffle mathematicians as to how this even happened.
Yeah.
Do you think that affected them at least a little bit mentally in the build up to it?
Brother Catalina, you are onto something there. I like that. I like that. I believe you're absolutely spot on. Those are the intangibles that come into play that affect young people. I mean, it cannot keep you from being, but I don't know. And that's the tough part. Tommy Lloyd, in my mind, I think he's really happy where he is. And I don't believe he would be up to the kind of fishbowl that you're going to be in at North Carolina anyway. If I had been advising him, I would have said, just get rid of this immediately. Just get rid of it. Everyone loves to be courted. I get that. There's a part of, I guess maybe all of us want to be wanted to some extent. God knows I'm guilty of that through the years. But he should have, categorically complete denial. Don't play the game at all. He should have done that. But could it have been a factor for some of those players? Yeah. I mean, the level of distractions at the Final Four, unlike when you step up from the first two rounds of the tournament and then you go to a Sweet 16, you're like, oh, this stage is different. When you go from 16 to 4, it's like, whoa, so many different distractions. And especially some of those great players that he has are young players. Those guards were young. So it could have creeped in, might have.
Tim, North Carolina has their man. It's Mike Malone coming over from the NBA after having some success with the Nuggets, doing the broadcasting thing for a little bit. And there were reports that Billy Donovan might have been their guy, but has more season to play out, and the timeline doesn't work with the portal. How much stock do you put into that, and what are your thoughts on Mike Malone being the guy that the Tar Heels are moving forward with?
Well, I knew his dad. I know him. Good for him. You're a hell of a lot happier, I think, in this day and time, even though it's craziness in college athletics, and people talk about that all the time. At least for the most part, when you're coaching college basketball, the players are going to listen to you, okay? And they're going to play hard for you, especially this time of year. I don't see that in the NBA. I think the NBA is an awful product. And going back and coaching it may be, guys like Billy, who I'd love to see back in college. Part of me really wanted to see Billy Donovan take that job. I felt the same way years ago about PJ Carlesimo. I wanted PJ to come back. But you get used to that NBA lifestyle as a coach. It's hard to break away from it. Really is. And Billy's had that now for quite a while. And he's still, listen, I just turned 70 February the 27th. So I still believe that Billy is down deep, got some kid in him. He's still Billy the Kid in his own mind from time to time. But he's been through a lot. His father, who used to be by his side all the time, William Donovan. I was close with all of them and close with Christine too. I'm sure there's been too much going on really for Billy to take that on at this stage. Maybe he's thinking at some point he'll go back to Kentucky, where the fans would love to have him if the Pope thing doesn't work out. Maybe that's where his finish line might be rather than North Carolina. I don't need to tell you how Kentucky fans would feel had he taken the North Carolina job.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know how they might have felt.
Yeah.
So I wasn't buying him going to North Carolina anyway. I mean, I really wasn't. But Malone is a wonderful basketball guy from a tremendous basketball family. And his time away doing a little TV, he's probably freshened up, got his battery recharged. And it's going to take a lot. And in today's game, a pro coach is going to thrive. Okay. They really are, because they have to rebuild teams every year, and that's what you've got to do at North Carolina.
I remember an interview, one of your broadcasters that you were doing that credited you for giving Bill Self credited you with giving him a jump start to his career at Tulsa. He did a lot of his games. What were your thoughts about him at least backing away after a disappointing loss.
Yeah.
He's had to go through some health issues. I think I really like him now more than ever.
Yeah.
But he has decided, nope, I got too much gas in this tank.
Yeah, I'm really happy about that. And, I think I told you guys last year, David, when we were contemplating, talking a little bit about, what's left in my tank in my career, there's still a lot of tread on these tires of mine. And I do see the finish line. I mean, I know it's in my future. I know this is the fourth quarter, but I think I could take it to overtime if I had to. And I know Bill could. I saw him. We had them against Utah in early February. Donnie Marshall and I went into Lawrence. And when we got the Big 12 part of our package at Fox, I was so excited because I knew I wouldn't be doing as much Big East. Fox had sold off quite a bit of it, even sold off the Big East tournament, the first half of it, to NBC Peacock, which, by the way, I was not demoted. I was not replaced. John Fanta went to NBC Peacock, and those games were in the next deal given to NBC Peacock as we decided to get rid of some of our Big East regular season and postseason inventory. And people decided that after I got nostalgic one night with a post on Twitter that, Brando's stepping back. He's probably gonna retire soon. Well, that's not happening. I can tell you that right now. And I know Bill loves what he does with the same degree of passion that I love what I do. I talked to him at pretty good length. It's not uncommon for him to invite me to dinner when I go in to do a game. That's happened many times before. But he had been battling so much with the Peterson stuff, and he'd also been through some issues himself earlier, about maybe a month before that. And he looked great, but I could tell he had lost a great deal of weight, but he still looked good. He was vibrant. But I think the Peterson thing, having to deal with that particular issue, that player, those particular handlers of that young man and his career, I think that played as much of a role in him having to think a little bit about it as much as anything. I knew he wanted to continue to coach. And down deep, he knew when Trey White and Council were out there and Peterson wasn't, a lot of times they looked even better than they did when Peterson was out there. So I think that contributed to his deciding to think about it, at least. And when you say you're thinking about it, everybody's ready to bring the guillotine down and close it out and say it's over with. He was just being honest. He was just being candid. And nowadays, when you do that, you open yourself up for speculation that, he's up there now. He's well into his 60s, baloney. That's just not the case. College basketball needs Bill Self right now a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I was really sad when I heard Coach Mack at Creighton was stepping away. I understand it. I know Greg McDermott really well, but the Big East won't be the same without him. I mean, it's a hit for the Big East. And I think college basketball in the Big 12 would take a hit if Bill Self stepped away right now.
I watched my wife and I yesterday the first two episodes of the Made from March, the thing that CBS did on Kansas and Michigan, and there was a lot about that. I think that Kansas, looking back, would have probably benefited more from kind of revealing that Darren Peterson had these awful cramps beforehand and then not letting that get kind of in the narrative. I wonder how much CBS is like, hey, don't. Like, well, it's going to be gold. Like, please don't say anything. I know he was trying to protect him. But I do think that the narrative on Darren Peterson was nationally just got way out of hand because of the Yap Yap shows. It was probably a little bit more towards he just didn't know how to deal with that kind of injury compared to somebody who's probably older.
Yeah, I'd say there's a lot of truth to that. And the Yap Yap shows remain the worst thing that's ever happened to sports television. It's just, don't get me started on that. But, having been at practice and spent some time with the program, I will tell you, Peterson himself seemed to be a really good guy that his teammates really enjoyed playing alongside. Okay, he did. And so Bill was put in a position for really the entire back half of the season to have to defend him because the daggers were out. People were going after that kid. And to some extent, maybe that's unfair because, it really wasn't him. It was his handlers. I think that's a lot of it. You know, Brad Underwood told me something, fellas, and you guys have known Brad a long time. And I know he upset a lot of people at Oklahoma State when he left the way that he did. I heard from some of them when I was publicly complimenting him after their loss in the Final Four. But, you know, Brad coached at Stephen F. Austin, okay? A team that was, a tip in against Notre Dame away from going to the Sweet 16 with a bunch of really, hard-playing grunts and Thomas Walkup, okay? They were the kind of defense that would be similar to Iowa State or Houston, okay? To defend every pass to the wing, okay? Wing denial, up in your kitchen. You go and you watch him as now the head coach at Illinois, and you see a team that's beating people reliably on their offense, spreading the floor. Their defense is a back-off defense. It's effective when you've got that much talent, but he's playing a completely different game. And he's adopted the Foreign Legion, where you're dealing with handlers that are agents from Bulgaria. And and they're a lot easier to deal with than the moms and dads and some of the agents in the United States. So that when you get a freshman from Serbia, he's 23 years old, meaning he's got eligibility until he's 26 or 27. Not a bad choice to make if you're in that situation. There are different ways to get it done now. And I think Brad has changed with the times as much as any coach out there. And the guy that you've got right there in your city in Waco, at Baylor, Scott Drew. I think he'll probably move forward, looking to that direction even more in coming years. And by the way, may I say this? When I saw his name being attached to North Carolina, that should tell people in Baylor how much he's still respected, because regardless of what happened to his season this year, I really was glad that I got to do their game in the Crown that they won in the quarterfinal round, get to see him and talk to him and meet some of those players, because the foundation is still pretty doggone good. The calendar, the only thing that hurt Baylor this year was the calendar. The season started too soon for these guys to have chemistry. About the time they started getting it, the season was over. And I think that's going to be a team that next year you look back and you say, those extra games that they played for the kids that are back, probably still pretty good. And there may only be a few back. Reconstruction is something you have to do on a regular basis. And I don't know of many people that knows where the players are any better than Scott.
Masters week. And one of my favorite weeks of the year in sports, college football opening up, et cetera. But what a great week it is. Augusta National, 8 champions between Tiger and Mickelson won't be there. And honestly, I don't care.
Nor do I.
You either love one of them or the other one, not usually both. But there are so many storylines. And Tim, your thoughts just about that you love to play golf and just this week in the Masters.
Oh, man. Here's my thought on it. Don't you think the Masters is big enough that it could live while the NCAA tournament is going on? Why do we have to hurry up and finish basketball so quickly, David? Can't we just move that calendar back? They can coexist. The game's on TBS anyway. It's not on CBS this year. I mean, we need college basketball to last a little longer. But I'm with you. With tonight ending effectively the college basketball season, the menu for this time next week will be empty. Once you get past the Masters, it's like, oh, okay, what's next? Okay, the baseball opening day is already come and gone. You think about the players, especially the ones that went over to live and are now coming back, especially one. We'll be talking about him. We'll be talking about all of these magnificent young players that have an opportunity to make big time noise, and first time winners from just this past season that are getting to play Augusta for the very first time. And then there are the old standard bearers, the ones that, okay, maybe their names aren't Mickelson and Woods, but whenever they come to Augusta, they seem to blossom alongside the azaleas and wake up echoes of their greatness.
Yeah, it's a special week, no doubt about it. And the coverage, there's more coverage. They used to have, you had to wait till like 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Now you can see it every different way.
I was so happy. I was so happy. People ask me all the time, David, Tim, what do you miss most about CBS? I'm like, well, getting to do the Masters on digital. That's what.
Yeah.
I did 4 of those. I did the Bubba years. I did 4 of those, and man, that was something special, and I do miss it. I'm sure Andrew Catalan is up there on, what is it, 14 or 15, saying, eat your heart out, Brando. This is what I got that you don't have. But that's fine. I know and love Andrew. He's a good man. But man, just getting to go and be a part of it, be on the grounds, and the fact that it wasn't on the air until about 2:30 in the afternoon, David, that meant if you were doing feature groups with Tiger or Phil, which I did, man, oh man, I had people on their phones saying, Brando, I had no idea you did golf. You know, it was fun. But that's where you had to go to get it. And it made that assignment a lot of fun back in the day for me.
I wish everybody had a chance to just go walk the grounds one day, half a day, whatever. I was able to go, and it is remarkable.
For me, working it would be very difficult to stay completely focused. It's almost. I remember we did the NFL. We went to the NFL draft when RG3 got, and it was drafted, and it was in Radio City Music Hall.
Oh, yeah.
Like for like an hour, I got up and I was like walking around in Radio City Music Hall, thinking about like all these different, acts that have been there. It's the same with Augusta. Like I had to remind myself at Radio City, like, oh no, we've got to go do a cut in because Robert's coming over at this time to do this interview. We've got to do these. We got to record this. Yeah. And the same thing would happen to me at Augusta, where you give me a lull of 30 minutes where nothing's going on, and I'm going to wander around and be like, "That's where Gary Player did that. That's where Jack Nicklaus did that. Artie Palmer did that over there. This is where Tiger's, that putt was." Like all those things are going to run through my head, and somebody's going to call me, "Hey, Paul, where are you?" I'd be like, I'm on 4. Where am I supposed to be? They're like 18. Oh,
you guys know Lance Barrow well, right? Have you ever had Lance on? You probably had Lance on.
CBS. He used to appear in a tournament in Tyler. Pro-Am, and he was one of the guys that was there. I love that guy.
Well, he was he was Mr. Masters for a long time, and a wonderful guy too. And Abilene Christians meant a lot to him and still does. And I still see him from time to time when I go to Fort Worth for a TCU game. I was privy to work with him as a football producer in my first year at CBS, but his stories about Chirkinian and the early days of CBS having it, for those that are watching us now that maybe have seen 10 Cup or listening to us, he was the guy in the truck that was going, he's in 7, he's out in 8. He's in 9, he's out in 10. That was Lance Barrow, from 10 Cup in 95, that movie with Costner. But he understood, and he told me, Tim, he said, there are certain things you're not going to be able to say. You can't call it a pin. You got to call it a whole location. You can't say gallery. You got to say patrons. He said, but you come here for the first time, you're going to love it. But I recommend that as soon as the Final Four is over, you get here on as close to Tuesday morning as you possibly can. Walk the grounds, enjoy it all. On Wednesday, bring your bag and go to the Master Store, because you can buy all of this swag from Augusta, and it's very affordable, by the way. Because you can't get it anywhere else. You can't mail order it. All right, it's not going to happen. They don't do that kind of thing. And he said, and enjoy being with the guys, with our golf guys. And for 4 years, I got to do that. And it was just a great week-long boondoggle. And we stayed in people's homes in gated communities that were given 10 grand or 15 grand or whatever it was to get out of their houses and let us rent them. And we, Grant Boone, who's still working at Golf Channel and doing the digital stuff. I think he still does Amen Corner. Grant, myself, and Brian Kroll, and Scott McCarron, who was working with me on feature groups. We all stayed in this beautiful 2-story home, not far from Augusta, from the course. It was just a blast for us. We had a marvelous time, and when I write the book, there'll be a chapter on it. Trust me.
Well, I know you got to go, and we do appreciate your time. The last question for you, is there's that original Sports Center Sports Heaven that's coming out, or it may have already started. I saw a note about George Grant. I saw you retweeted that. What will that be like for you to watch back the memories of how Sports Center started and what it became?
Right. Well, I was part of the second wave, fellas. John Saunders and I were hired the same week. We arrived in Connecticut within a week of one another. He coming in from Baltimore and me coming in from Baton Rouge. I had already done games as a freelancer living in Baton Rouge at that time for 2 years with ESPN, or almost 2 years. It was January of 85 when I started, and it was December of 86 when Terry and I and Tiffany, we only had one child at that time, moved up to Connecticut. But, people like George Grand, and I'll throw out some other names for you that you may go, whoa, I forgot about. Sharon Smith. Sharon was the thoroughbred expert. She was all around the horse racing all the time. Clearly, we remember Bob Lee and Tommy Mees and Chris Berman as the three originals, but there were others, and George was the initial guy. George went on to work Cincinnati Reds games for a long time. Still, I think, teaches at Central Connecticut. George was part of that early group of guys that were there, and the remnants of that was still very much evidenced when we got there in 1986. And that place then was, David, it was Sports Heaven because it was meat and potato sports. We were there to prove a lot of critics wrong that a 24-hour cable television network could work, okay, with nothing but sports being discussed all the time. And the opportunities for me to do these obscure sports, like PKA karate and, judo and all of these other, Olympic sports that were never really seen before, like the Taekwondo national championships. I was sent to Colorado Springs to do that. I mean, the things we did. And I was the first guy that ever got to do Sports Center and go out and do events, which had never happened before. I remember Berman and Mees were very upset because they wouldn't let them out. And then they got new contracts based on mine that enabled them to do some hockey and, in Chris's case, some baseball and a few other things. It was just the best of times. I have nothing but fond memories of that ESPN, the one that I worked for. It's not at all the same now. I think we all know that. But at their core, they are still the most, they're the most valued location for sports with the most volume of anyone in the business. And we were all being told at that time it'll never work. In fact, all of us in our heart of hearts, Gail Gardner would be another one. We were all trying to get out of there. It was like being in AAA, waiting for someone at NBC, CBS, or ABC to be optioned out so we could slide in and get our three-letter network opportunity. We all were looking to get out of there, and probably as hard as we worked and as much fun as we were having, at the time, we probably didn't enjoy, the gratification of how many great things we were getting to do for the very first time that no one else our age would get to do. Yeah. I mean, we were all in our late 20s back then, all of us. And in many cases, their first jobs, okay? Bob Lee, Chris Berman, and Tom Mees Tom was working in Tallahassee doing radio, after that's what he was doing. Berman went right from college, just as Bob Lee did, right to ESPN. They've never had another job, which it still blows me away. I've been at 4 different networks and 42 years of doing this, which I valued each stop. But those people that were there from the very beginning, some of them never left. It is an amazing story.
Tim, have you ever seen Best in Show? What about the dog show, the spoof movie?
No, I've not seen that. No, I've heard of it.
Okay.
I've not seen it.
I will recommend it to you for one thing. Fred Willard, who is one of the great comedic actors of all.
Oh, love Fred Willard.
Yeah.
Fernwood Tonight.
Yes.
Fernwood Tonight with Martin Mull. I love that show.
Fred Willard plays a character in that movie who is a sportscaster who is doing the dog show. And It is. I mean, he's just an old school sportscaster, and then he's got the dog expert there with him.
Yeah,
it is straight up and down hilarious. And your like Taekwondo story reminded me of that. If you get a chance, just look it up and watch it. You will identify with that character probably more than most people ever would.
Yeah. By the way, that makes Chris Myers this generation's Fred Willard.
Yeah.
Let me tell you one quick story on the Taekwondo for a second. We're doing a live Taekwondo. Now, you score points in Taekwondo with what they call trembling shock. Now, what is trembling shock? It's when you're hit somewhere with a fist or an arm or a foot, okay, and you back up your opponent. Well, when you're doing live Taekwondo and someone gets hit, let's just say in the area biologically of what Bill Raftery would consider onions, okay?
Yes.
When that happens and you have a long delay and replays, how many times can you say, I believe it is the groin region where this young man's struggling. Now, you talk about stretching your glossary and your vocabulary. Try doing live martial arts when there's a stoppage in the fight for someone to be handled in that part of the masculine body. That was something.
Yeah, that'll take your breath away, literally. Everything else. Tim, we appreciate it. We won't be as long the next time we get you on. We'll get back to what's happening with college sports, athletics, and more, but that's for another day. Great to see you. West Virginia won the crown. You were a part of that, and we appreciate you being a part of us today.
Happy to be on as always, and it's been a minute, so I'm glad to join you and enjoy the follow. I gave you I'm telling you, Michigan wins, UConn covers. That's my parting shot.
There you go. That's for everyone watching. Tim Brando, Fox Sports, with us on 365 Sports on the night of the national championship game. When we come back, Shane Ryan, Golf Digest, on the week of the Masters. Von Miller, former A&M star and two-time Super Bowl champion, also today. And we will look at the drama-filled weekend in women's basketball too. And this is 365 Sports. QC Kinetics want to help you. It's helped me for treatments. Went and had a consultation with them back in September. And man, I can tell you what it's like to wake up and not have that, it's gone. What it's like to be able to jog, not at a very fast pace, but a mile this morning, and didn't blink, did not have any pain, no soreness. And it just feels good to be able to do a lot that I struggled with doing for 4.5 years, and even played a round of golf on Friday and another round of golf on Sunday. And you can tell that I played a couple other than my score. QC Kinetics takes your natural biologics, platelets, stem cells, and more. They get what's in your body. It's your biologics. They take it, draw blood, spin it back in. They do also go and get your stem cells. That's the third treatment, I believe. And it's just working. I want you to feel the way I do if you've been limping around or aches and pains, whether you're 40 or you're my age in your upper 60s. QC Kinetics with locations in Dallas and Houston. There are the numbers: 972-972-8610, 713-913-5285. Let QC Kinetics fix you, and especially if you've had steroid injections that kick the can down the road and they're starting to discuss, well, maybe it's time for us to cut you. Surgery. Don't until you get a free consultation with a place that has turned me around when it comes to what I can do physically and also do things I haven't done for 4+ years at QCkinetics.com.
Penny Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio, this is 365 Sports. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. Now it's time for 365 Sports.
It is Masters Week. We touched on that a little bit with Tim Brando. We'll have Rob Bolton, by the way, on the show Wednesday to make our picks for the week at the Augusta National. Shane Ryan, I saw the piece that he wrote, and I contacted him immediately and said, hey, let's get you on to discuss this. Shane Ryan from Golf Digest joins us now on 365 Sports. Shane, I was fortunate to go 6 years. And the first year I went, I thought I would never be there. And I remember the first time I'm in the merchandise, which has changed dramatically up near the front gate, and how I said, I got to get everything now. And then I was there 6 years, and it's just the most unbelievable experience. And your thoughts about, from someone who works inside one of those merchandise buildings, what made you come up with that story?
Yeah, this was just a story that I found while I was working on a different story, actually. So I wrote a story about the Masters gnomes. And David, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're this huge phenomenon. They're the gnomes they sell in their merch shop. They've done it for about 10 years. And if you bought a gnome in 2016 that cost $39, you could go sell it online right now for $10,000. So you can see the extent to which they've gone crazy. And in the process of reporting that story, I happened to touch base with a guy who had some experience working in merch. And we spent an hour on the phone, and he was telling me all this stuff. And I said, my God, this is so interesting. I've got to write a story just on this after we finish with this gnomes business. And so that's how it, sometimes it kind of falls into your lap a little bit like that. But Yeah, everything about Augusta. There's always an inner world that will blow your mind a little bit there.
Because of that, because it's the maybe the most unique sports venue in the world, because outside of this week, it's shut off to the general public. I mean, it's not, it is you can go play all the other major courses, with just good scheduling. You cannot just call up and go, I'd like a 9:30, at Augusta. How much does that add some maybe mystic energy to it? Like it's some sort of secret castle.
Yeah, very much so. And it's been like that. What's funny, it's been like that from the start. So way back in the 30s when they started this tournament, they, would invite writers that were on their way to cover spring training, baseball in Florida. They would treat them like, kings while they were there. And it was always walled off. It was private, but they give you just enough a taste of it to go, wow, this is incredible stuff. Very rich people who are there, very powerful people who are there. Originally, Bobby Jones was behind it, so it had that allure too. And you can trace it through the last 90 years of how they have kept that going. Even things like, they wouldn't show much of the final round for the longest time on TV. There's always that sense of scarcity, that sense that we're not going to give you everything. And it does. It works like a charm. I mean, there really is kind of an aura around the Masters. I would say it's probably the tournament by far that most people would say, I only watch one tournament every year, and it's the Masters, right? So even if you're a very casual fan, that kind of draws you in. The music, the beautiful scenery, all of it is just trying to cultivate this thing to make it seem special. And when you look at it that way, it really is, I think, the most successful PR job probably in the history of sports.
Undercover, the inside sprawling Masters merchandise operation of what you were told firsthand by somebody that's worked inside of that place. And again, I looked at the pictures you had on your story there. That's changed dramatically from when I was there, but it's been 15 years for me. What was maybe one or two things you took out of it that you did not know much about?
Yeah, I think just the amount of people inside of it. I never would have guessed that there were 350 people working in just this one main shop. Undercover cops, the various hierarchies of people who, the people on the top floor who work full time at Augusta, the supervisors and the rank and file workers, then the kids below who are hustling to open packages and all day. There's UPS executives on site there to make sure things run smoothly. So it's just this massive thing, which, it makes sense when you hear the numbers. They do about $70 million worth of sales just in those 10 days, starting the Saturday before when you have the Augusta National Women's Amateur. The next day you have the drive, chip, and putt. And then, of course, you have Masters Week all through Sunday. The $70 million worth, I mean, it takes a lot. And little things like, okay, even when you walk onto that floor, your pass, I'm talking about if you're a fan, if you're a patron, your pass gets scanned, and then it gets scanned again when you go to the checkout area. So it shows how long you've been there, and they can get a sense of, okay, this is how long people are on the floor for, and we need to get them quicker. They're spending 40 minutes on the floor when we want them to spend 25 minutes on the floor. So we've got to figure out ways to do this. So we won't have any visible bathrooms, right? If you're going to have an emergency, you can find a bathroom, but it's not going to be seen. There's going to be like 2 or 3 dressing rooms for this whole sprawling Nordstrom-style department store. There's not going to be any chairs anywhere for people to sit down. So it's this whole system. Thoroughly studied. They brought in McKinsey. They brought in department store executives when they made it. It's an incredibly high level operation with a lot of brilliant people who designed it for a very specific purpose of making a ton of money.
One of my biggest challenges was, well, why don't I just buy everything? Which obviously I did not do because I wanted to buy golf shirts, etc. You could literally go in there. If you have a credit card, that's a dangerous thing because you could lose your mind inside that store.
Absolutely. Yeah. And really there are no restrictions on how much you can buy. So you can go do it. And, people go in there and sometimes they're buying for their friends and family. Then you have people who are buying so they can resell it on the secondary market. And, like you were saying before, not only can you only see Augusta when they invite you in for that week, but that's the only place you can buy stuff. You can't go online and buy Masters gear. So anything you're buying online is going to be resale items. And those can go for, like I said, with the Gnome, that's an incredibly exaggerated situation. But even a hat or a T-shirt can go for 3-4 times what it would have cost inside the merchandise shop. So it's a pretty crazy scene, quite honestly. You have 900, 1,000 people in the store at all times. lines going back for an hour. It's this whole little world.
When I was in high school, I had a job at the county seat, which sold Levi's. And I lived in Southwest Florida in Fort Myers. And during the all months of the year, there were a lot of German tourists, and the wall had just come down. So Levi's wasn't really big over there. It sounds a lot like that, where you just go in and people would, these tourists would come in and buy 50 pairs of jeans. And take them back over to Germany. It's the same way with Augusta. How do you think they feel about those secondary markets? There's nothing they can really do about it. Even with the most powerful people in the world, there's nothing they can do about it, but I wouldn't imagine that they love it.
They don't love it. They do a little bit. They will look and see, for example, if you're selling a badge, and I'm not talking about merchandise, but if you're selling your tickets online, they have ways, if you're not smart enough to cover them up, there's various patterns on them that they can narrow it down to who did it, and they can pull your badge. They can do things like that. If you're being very stupid about the way you're buying, gear in the merchandise shop, as in you're getting a bunch and then you're spreading it out on the floor to count each one, then they go, okay, come with us. You're not going to buy this. But your point is right, that there's not a ton they can do about it, because they don't want to, give someone a terrible day who's just buying for their friends and accuse them of being a reseller. But I love that comparison, that the rest of us are sort of behind the rest of us are in the Eastern Bloc behind the wall, and Augusta's the only place. Augusta is the new West, and you can only get there for a little while. You better get your jeans while you can.
All right. What do you think a song about the Roars and the patrons and where they come from on the course? I don't know about a song, but I've been there. I know you feel the rumblings, don't you? Especially on that final round. Something happened at a certain hole, especially as they say it starts on the back nine.
Yeah, I thought you were going to ask me to sing for a second there. I was like, oh no, I wasn't ready for that. It is. It's a cool, that is a good phrase, that Master starts on the back nine on Sunday. It's not 100% true, but it's true enough. I was thinking this as I watched the Yankees game yesterday, and they played a great game. And then in the 8th inning, the bullpen came out and blew it. And I was like, in microcosm, that's sort of like what a golf tournament is, where you can play, great for 3.5 rounds, but really none of it matters if you can't handle the pressure coming down the stretch. Everything happens on that closing stretch. And I just wrote a piece ranking the best final rounds that they've ever had at the Masters. Just kind of like, here are the 25 best Sundays that there have ever been at Augusta. And you can look back at a lot. I mean, last year was an unbelievable one, but then you can go back to 86 when Jack Nicklaus won his last, and just the crazy, twists and turns, the drama at the end, Seve Ballesteros going down, Greg Norman pulling his approach way into the right gallery, and of course, Jack Nicklaus making all those bombs, Tiger in 2019 winning his last one. There's just been so many great examples of it where it is thick with drama, and a lot of times it can be the best, couple hours of golf of the entire year. And it's a great TV product, actually. It's really one of the best.
Shane Ryan with us. What moment did you pick as the all-time? I have that in front of me. I have not printed it out. What did you pick?
I tried to be objective as much as possible. I ranked them in 5 different categories, like memorable shot, the drama coming down the stretch, how big were the people involved, things like that. And I think 86 was number 1, and it was hard to pick any other. That really was just the top of the heap when it came to the best Masters. I think 2019 was great. And, I don't even think this is recency bias to say that last year's Masters was one of the most dramatic sports moments probably any of us will ever see in golf. To watch Rory try to break that drought, and everything he did to earn it and everything he did to try to blow it at the same time. So that was good. But 86 was number 1. I think I was 3 years old. I wasn't even old enough to see it, but even watching the last round on YouTube, it's very exciting. So that was the answer.
What would you say was most tragic? And we'll let you go, Shane. Thank you always for being a part of it. Spieth's meltdown, or the one that made me cry, and Greg Norman in 96.
Oh, Norman's was so much more tragic, right? Spieth's was like, that stinks for him, and that's sad. And, of course, it seems like a formative moment now looking back. But he had already won a Masters. He had already won a U.S. Open. I think he would go on to win a British, so he wasn't done winning majors. Norman's was just, the thing that you're going to remember about him forever. And, I don't blame anybody for crying about that one. It was just unpleasant. I mean, that was the kind of meltdown that was so sudden and so severe that really by the last 3 holes, it was already over. And so you're just kind of watching this man. It's like a car wreck. If you had to watch it for 2 hours after the car wreck was over, you had to watch him walk down. You had to watch him be miserable. Even Nick Faldo, who won, really didn't know what to do. Like, what are you supposed to do? Celebrate and pump your fist and scream and shout? It's like, no, because a guy's heart is basically lying on the green right next to you. So I think that's the most tragic. I think the only one you can compare to that is not at the Masters was Jean Van de Velde. But his took place in, instead of 3 hours, it took place in 10 minutes. So I would still say that Norman takes the cake.
Van de Velde right on top of one mistake with another, and still had a chance. Shane, great to have you on. I love what you write and enjoy reading what you write. Thank you very much. Enjoy the week at Augusta.
Thanks a lot, David. Have a great one.
You too. Shane Ryan with us, the Golf Digest, as we will have Rob Bolton on Wednesday and, of course, give updates on Thursday and Friday, too.
I think most of my inheritance is at the Master Shop in Augusta, Georgia, actually.
I'll tell you this story. I know we got to go because of Von Miller, but the first year I went, and it was like I was doing a show in the afternoon at this hotel lobby. They set us up really well. And I walked into this thing and I said, I got to get a shirt for everybody I can think of. Brothers, brother-in-laws, fathers, father-in-law, grandfather, whatever I could, sons, whatever. And I don't want to tell you the number because I did not realize how much I had. Because the golf shirts, everything there's some things that could be very expensive, but some of the stuff they have, these shirts, you get them for a lot less than you do on this one site called like mmogolf.com on the second market. I don't buy shirts on that link, although I'd like to get that one. The shirts and a lot of the things in there are incredibly affordable, just like the food.
But when you buy 25 of them,
no,
the affordability goes out the window.
I want to say the number because it took my heart away when she said how much it was, and I put it on a credit card, which is something I used to do too much of everything. And but I was thrilled because I got everybody that wanted a shirt or needed a shirt. I got everybody a shirt. So it was worth it. The problem is that was day one of year one. And then I went back the next day. I went, I might as well get club head covers, or I might as well get this and I get that. And then it was fun. But at the same time, you could go in there. That's like walking in someone who's a crack addict and laying it on the floor.
I just, it's going to be a bummer when you're gone, Smokey, no matter what. But when they're reading the will and it says, to Craig and Jennifer, I bequeath 42 Masters golf club covers.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like,
here's the worst part is that almost all of them during that time, I was a XX. And now I wear a large. And I one day went and played golf with all my buddies here in Waco. I opened up the back of my car, the Tahoe, and I had a bar. Remember, I used to always hang stuff when I traveled. And they're like 35 or 40 golf shirts. And all of them were XX. And I couldn't wear them anymore because I lost all that weight. And they're gone. They're wearing the guys I saw this past weekend. There was Jimmy King, he's wearing one, or John Maddox, he's wearing one. I think I let you guys look at a few of them.
Yeah, I had one for a little bit.
Yeah,
and then I probably got mustard on it or something. And
but it is an experience. If you get a chance to go. You still can't understand the views, the beauty of it at all. Hey, I know we have Von Miller. Is there anything you want to get to before we're going to go pitch to Von Miller that we did earlier today?
No, I mean, the only thing I think was on the rundown. I mean, we've had a dramatic shortage of football talk today, so we're going to have to cure that tomorrow, but it is the national championship day. But always like to at least touch on some football, although it's just spring still rolling along, basically. Nothing too crazy, I think, happening as far as that goes. With that being said, the only other thing would be just that the women's championship was decided, and you have UCLA now as your national champions. And so don't look now, boys, but if you start getting into that conference bragging rights thing, the Big Ten has won the football title now 3 years in a row. They've now won the women's basketball title. They got Michigan as the heavy favorites to win the men's basketball title. I don't think baseball's like their thing necessarily, but I need to check the rankings and see if like UCLA's in there or something. But
they're number one.
Are they still number one?
They were
okay.
at one point.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Texas is right there, of course, with a couple of others too.
But I hadn't looked at the baseball rankings. But yeah, I mean, congrats to UCLA. That was a great story. I really could convince myself that it was going to be Texas or South Carolina, and then obviously UCLA eliminates Texas. And Rory Harmon was a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, she's fantastic.
I know it's not everybody's thing, but I mean, she was an incredible competitor. And so I know that was a big
when
loss
she first played her freshman year, a little itty bitty thing.
I know that was a big loss for Texas. And so, heartbreaking for her to go out that way. I think they're like pounding on the door. They're going to get one here under Vic Schaefer at some point. But UCLA beat them, and I was super impressed. And then, turn right around and put a whooping on South Carolina.
Yeah.
So, wow.
It swallowed them whole. I mean, just absolutely did. And the Corey Close was Sue Semrau at FSU's assistant for a very long time, and went to UCLA, I guess, 10, 12, 13 years ago, something like that, and has been their head coach and has built this program. And the way that they demolished South Carolina, I'm sure Dawn Staley's going to win 5 more titles before she retires, probably. She's an unbelievable coach. But that she could win 20 more titles. That game will live in the back of her mind forever because South Carolina doesn't lose like that.
And then we just gloss over really the fireworks the game before. Gino and
Dawn Staley and the fiery post game and all that went. And eventually he sends out one of these statements. That was unbelievable. I'm like, man, this is good for women's basketball. They're getting more and more eyeballs, but this is good for them, although it was just silly in a way.
But you know what? It was Gino's fault. Like he totally was out of pocket. Yeah. And I don't have like a big, long opinion on this other than I think he clearly realized that after the fact, and that's why you got the apology and seeing it live because I just happened to be watching it all. It's like, he was being a sore loser more than anything else. And not that I think that Dawn Staley's incapable of being similar in some way, but that was Gino being a sore loser. So I'm glad he at least said something about it after the fact. And, and then for the UConn fans, they got to turn right around and at least see Dawn Staley lose the next game. Yeah. So there was a little bit of a saving grace there.
Yeah, and then she said it's okay to lose to somebody who was a class and all that. That was kind of a little dig.
Look, the egos among the women's basketball coaching elite,
especially right now,
are really, really, really high. And I do think that Gino, because now that Pat Summitt's gone, he's the torchbearer for the greats. And I do think that maybe, and as much as I like him, and I do really like Gino Auriemma, I do think that sometimes he thinks that people should kiss the ring no matter what. And when they don't do it in the way that he expects it, and then he also loses, that's going to make him do a dumb thing.
They've got in his head. Dawn Staley, and then they played physical, something UConn doesn't have to do as much, and they got thumped pretty good. I was watching that. I went to Texas Roadhouse after Friday's show and just sat there and watched part of the game. I'm like, man, this is not going in their way. Real quick note about UCLA, and then we're going to break. No, we'll go to Von Miller. This team that just won it, guys, in this day and age of the portal, every single point that they scored in the Final Four, every single point was scored by a senior. Cool. Not a sophomore, freshman, 5-star phenom, whatever, but all 5 seniors.
I think Michigan, if they win tonight as well, would just further – I mean, it goes back to Scott Drew and that 2021 team. What were they? They were veteran seniors, super experienced, and that's how I think that's how you win basketball titles now is like you can have the NBA lottery pick as Scott Drew's had, but you got to have all the experience and the toughness and those things around it as well. So, congrats to UCLA on a national championship. They're first in women's basketball, so now they join that club of men's and women's titles. So, good for the Bruins.
And they used to have a lady named Ann Myers, one of the great women's basketball players back in the day when I was in college. They were good, but not like this where they won it all. You want to go to Miller now?
Yeah, let's go right to him.
Here is our conversation earlier. Von Miller is about to be inducted into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame in a couple of weeks, and here's our conversation with him. Miller, 2-time Super Bowl champion, Texas A&M great, and eventually Hall of Fame football player, joins us on 365 Sports. And speaking of that, Von, first off the top, the Texas Sports Hall of Fame is going to honor you. What does that mean from a young man from DeSoto, Texas, who played at Texas A&M?
Man, I think you said it with that. I'm from Texas, born and raised. I was born right here in Dallas. Grew up in DeSoto my whole entire life. Went over to Texas A&M, and I'm Texas through and through. Everywhere I go, they talk about my accent when I'm here. I don't feel like I have an accent when I'm here, but you know, when you go and you with all these other guys, I guess it kind of shines through. It really means a lot to me. It's a lot of great players that have lived here in Texas and have went into the Texas Hall of Fame. So to be able to join those guys, man, and to have my kids, you know, present, it means a whole lot to me.
Vaughn, I come from, I'm not an Aggie myself, but I come from Aggie stock. My dad, class 65. I have uncles, cousins, everybody. There's tons of Catalinas down in Bryan, College Station anyway. We're all over the place. But I did want to say, like, when I looked up, you know, like, hey, what can I ask Vaughn about today that's kind of outside the box? There is barbecue place now in North Texas that's serving chickens from your farm.
Yep.
It hit me that you being an Aggie football player with a sustainable chicken farm might be the biggest Aggie daily double in the history of Aggie daily doubles.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's crazy, man. You know, people ask me all the time, like, how did you get into that? Like, I grew up here in Texas. I mean, I grew up outside. I was hunting and fishing my whole life. I learned how to shoot a BB gun and tie a hook before I could read or write. But I didn't grow up on a farm. I didn't grow up, you know, raising cattle and raising chickens. It was an easy class that I took at Texas A&M, poultry, meat production 101. Dr. Morgan Farnell, I remember like it was yesterday. And I just remember sitting in that class and listening to all the numbers. Like, man, like, hey, if I don't make it to the NFL, then I just start a chicken farm. This would be like my thing that I do to be able to live and earn a living. And, you know, fortunately, I was able to do both. Greener Pastures Chicken is right outside of Austin, Texas, in Elgin. And, got an organic, pasture-raised, non-GMO. Go Texan is right here in Texas. It's Texas through and through, just like me. And I feel like you can taste the difference. I feel like you can taste the type of lifestyle that our birds live. You know, everybody's had chicken, but all chicken does not taste the same. And I think our birds are definitely an example of that. Coffee Barbecue is the barbecue spot that you're talking about. He does an excellent job. It's a halal barbecue spot as well. So it just takes the product to a whole nother standard. We got halal chicken. He has halal Wagyu beef, and you know, Saladin is amazing there. He didn't grow up barbecuing either. It was a passion that kind of took him by storm. He was in the tech industry before, and he just, you know, ended up being a great pit master. So our careers and our lives kind of intertwine, and you know, he's the first barbecue spot to have Greener Pastures Chicken. And just because you have a great product, you got to be able to barbecue. You got to be able to take it to another level as well. So we're kind of meeting him halfway. You know, we have a great product and he does the rest, man. It's an incredible spot that he does, and he has incredible food there for sure.
How much of that is takes your time? I know you have a lot of people running obviously the business, but how much of that is taking your time each day right now?
I got a coop at my mom and dad's house, so
okay.
it's part of my life. Do I make it down the farm in Elgin? I make it there probably twice a year. I'm on all the Zoom calls. I'm there. I check in on the guys, daily. That's my life. It's my business. It's my company. I'm well in tune and informed what's going on with Greener Pastures Chicken, but I'm there personally probably twice out the year. I have about 50 birds at my mom and dad's house. I spend more time with those birds than I actually do with my chicken farm. Those are like pets that I have. So when you have pets and they're all hens, we haven't slaughtered any of those birds. They live long lives as well. They lay about, an egg a day, and if not an egg a day, every other day. We have so many eggs that we give away eggs. So those are our pets, though, and that's my family, and I spend a lot of time in that chicken coop for sure.
Vaughn, 37 years old, you still have gas in the tank, I know, but you were at an interesting point in your career where you've accomplished so much, so you don't necessarily have boxes to check off. If only I had done this. What kind of freedom does that allow you compared to maybe some other guys when you decide how much longer am I going to do this and who that you're going to do it for? I try to keep that at the forefront each and every year.
I only had 2 contract offers last offseason. You can only play for one team, but I only had 2 contract offers. The very first contract offer was the Seattle Seahawks, and the second contract offer was the Washington Commanders. And I weighed both of those, thinking like, hey, what is my best chance to make it to the Super Bowl? And I picked the Washington Commanders. So, I was just a choice away from, going to the Seattle Seahawks and, winning my 3rd Super Bowl on a 3rd different team, which has never been done before. You got Mike Mullen that has been on 3 different teams and won Super Bowls on 3 different teams, but he didn't play in one of those Super Bowls. And we're able to see what he was able to do with that. He was a GM in the NFL for a very long time, did a great job with the Detroit Lions. So that's something that I want to do as well. I want to be a GM whenever I'm done as well, too. So I want to be able to have that feather in my cap and, play on 3 different teams and play in 3 different Super Bowls. I'm a sack and a half. I'm a half sack away from having the all-time Super Bowl sack record. I'm tied with Charles Haley right now, and I only played in 2 Super Bowls. So it's a lot of things that I still have on my plate. Am I at peace? Yeah, I'm at peace. I love my career. I love my family. But am I content? No, I think that's why I still keep coming back. And that's why I still keep going out there with the young guys. And they get bigger, stronger, faster every year. I think, I'm still not content yet, but I am happy and I am at peace.
You ended up with 9 sacks last year to lead the team with Washington. There's no way you won't play this year, right? Are there offers you're just waiting for the right ones?
Yeah, I mean, things – I wasn't familiar to this. Like my last year I was a free agent last year when the Buffalo Bills let me go, and I had never been in that territory. I thought I was going to be right on the team. It's a waiting period. For me, this will be my 16th year in the NFL. We have the draft coming up, and then they'll be able to look at these draft picks, and I'll probably get picked up again at the beginning of July, right around in July. That's where it picked up for me. It picked up right after the draft. I started talking to the Commanders in June. I started talking to the Commanders at the end of May. I started talking to the Seattle Seahawks at the end of May, got a contract offer at the beginning of June, and the Commanders had came mid-June, and I ended up going with the Commanders right before training camp. So I expect it to be a little bit similar to that. Fortunately for me, I've played on 4 teams, and all 4 of those teams that I played on are going to be very good this year. And, I would love to go back to any one of those 4 teams, whether it's the Denver Broncos, the Los Angeles Rams, the Buffalo Bills, the Washington Commanders. All 4 of those teams have a shot at winning the Super Bowl. So to have a shot at winning the Super Bowl, that's all I need. I feel like me and what I bring to a team, I'm able to boost whatever team that is to be able to get there. I wasn't able to do that last year with the Commanders. But I still feel strongly in my ability to be able to get that done on a new team or the Washington Commanders.
Vaughn, you mentioned a second ago that you would like to be a GM one day. Having been on different teams and done all the things you've done, you have an interesting perspective on that as a player in doing at the level you have. When did that kind of start getting into your mind of man, I would love to build this team? You played for Les Snead, who's one of the best at this in the whole league. And just being around him, I'm sure you would learn a lot.
It started, to be honest, it started after my tenure with the Chargers. Not the Chargers, the Rams. And being around Les Snead and, you see all the talk about F those draft picks, and he was able to get it done. And, it was really being on the Rams, and seeing the way he had built that team. And then I was able to further really stroke that flame whenever I went to the Buffalo Bills. I was able to be around Brandon Beane, one of the best GMs in the league as well. And then after that, I was able to go play for the Commanders with Adam Peters. So all of those teams have really been able to fan that flame that I have, and seeing the way John Elway did it and seeing the way John Lynch did it. Those are former players that have won Super Bowls and was able to pivot and transition to become GMs. And I'm looking at those guys saying why not me? And they've definitely influenced me and motivated me to be able to get that done.
We mentioned that I did at the top that you went to DeSoto High School. How about the run they're on? with
Yeah.
Clark Mathis. They're winning like pretty much, and now they're moving to 5A, going to stay there. They've always opted up. They're so good about what they have done. DeSoto's always been good. Not always. Dave Meadows, I think, was a name, a coach that came in, and eventually now they're a wrecking machine, literally a nickname of wrecking crew in A&M, of course, on defense.
Yeah, so I played for Coach Meadows, and, we had a lot of solid teams come through there in his tenure as well. Coach Dave Meadows did an incredible job with me. He showed me how to play football. He showed me how to be a great teammate. He showed me what it meant to be on a team, a great team, and it's more than just yourself. I've always had great coaches involved in my career. There's no way I'd be able to be here talking to you guys about going into the Texas Football Hall of Fame without coaches like Coach Meadows or coaches like Mike Sherman, some of the guys that have such incredible influences on my career, hands-on influences on my career. I would spend so much time with those guys. Those guys could be my uncle or my papa. Like those guys have really poured into me. Sometimes I didn't like it. Sometimes I did, but it was great medicine for me to be able to be here with you guys. So, and the same thing with Coach Mathis. I have a very special relationship with Coach Mathis. Didn't play for him, but I feel like I did. I'm a huge fan of the DeSoto Eagles. I stay in tune with what's going on with DeSoto. I try to watch the games whenever I can. You see us beat teams like South Lake Carroll, who have been historically great teams, 22 state championships or whatever they got, and we go out there and we beat them. And the type of game that we did, like you beat on your chest, like, hey, like I'm so proud to be a DeSoto Eagle. I'm so proud of Coach Mathis and the things that he's been able to do. And then that post game. Man, that post-game interview is like a WWE, like WrestleMania intro. Like it gives me goosebumps to see that type of passion that he has for his players and his guys. And I'm just so proud to be a DeSoto Eagle. I'm so proud to be able to be a Texas A&M Aggie and, have the career I had there too. And I'm so proud to, be able to spend time with you guys and go into the Texas Football Hall of Fame.
The last time I was in an A&M game, you were there on the sideline, and they announced you. And the place always shakes anyway, Vaughn. I mean, it shakes anyway. And it felt almost like the fourth quarter when they're sawing Varsity's horns off. You're very beloved there. It's like you, Dat Wynn, Bucky Richardson, free beer club for life. But what do you think of their direction now under Mike Elco? He seems to be very personality perfect for College Station, Texas.
Yeah, man. Coach Elco is the way I feel about him is the same way I feel about Coach Mathis. I didn't play for Coach Elco, but I feel like I did. We got a special relationship too. He is perfect for College Station and, Aggie Land and the type of program that we have and the type of guys that we want to put out. Like he is so perfect for that. He'd been there before, he left, he came back. This is one of the best teams that we've had in so long. That Miami game came down to one play. And you see the type of run that Miami had, and you're like, man, we could have did that too. Like you can't help but think that. And we played Miami tough. They have a really good team. And you see some of the things that they did to Ohio State and all other teams. We're knocking on the door. And that's all because of Coach Elco, man. And I'm a huge fan of Coach Elco. I've spoken to Coach Elco about things that I want to do post-career, and, he's been on board with that. And, to have supporters like Coach Elco, man, and, everybody in Aggie Land, it's been an honor and a privilege. And, I love those guys, man. I bleed maroon for sure.
He said today in an article, I read a quote that that A&M football is changing the national narrative about the Aggies. Would you agree with that?
I mean, I agree with whatever he says, but in my opinion, Texas A&M has always been about football. It's always been about football, whether we win or not. Like, you look at some of those games, even if we did lose, the other team, it wasn't an easy game for those guys over there. Like, we play hard ball over there. Even some of the teams that I've been on at Texas A&M where we didn't go to a bowl game, like, we still beat up on the other team too. No, we didn't lose the game, but they felt us. No, we didn't win the game, but they felt us for sure. And that's just the Aggie way. Very, very hard-nosed, and we're going to get it done. And now we're able to win some games and really be able to celebrate. Like, I totally agree with Coach Elco and, what he said, changing the narrative for sure.
Well, two more questions, Von. Thank you. Von Miller will be inducted into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame in April, later on this month, and with us on 365 Sports. You played for the Bills. How much would it mean to that franchise? I know it would mean a lot to you as a former player there, and of course Josh Allen. And what would it mean for them to finally win a Super Bowl?
People will literally cry. It would be a holiday. It'll be statues built. Yeah, it'd be, schools out. Back in those days where they went to 4 Super Bowls straight and they lost 4 Super Bowls, they still had those parades. They still had those Super Bowl parades after those losses. So just imagine what that would mean to the city of Buffalo to be able to get it done with a guy like Josh Allen and, Joe Brady and, all the players that have come through there. Coach McDermott changed that program around. I know it'd mean a lot to him. Western New York would be a holiday for the rest of eternity when they get that done. It's just a matter of time. With a guy like Josh Allen and Jim like Brandon Beane, Joe Brady, it's just a matter of time before they're able to get that done. They've been knocking on the door for a long time. I just want to be a part of it. Whether it's this year or next year, I just want to be on that team whenever they get it done, because they definitely have been knocking on the door. Josh Allen, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I would say the best quarterback in the league. Obviously, it rotates between Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, all of those guys, Lamar Jackson. But when Josh Allen is on, he is the best. And I'm a huge fan of Josh Allen. Love that guy. And it'll mean so much to Western New York if they're able to get that done. Not if, but when.
Gig'em Gala, in College Station, benefiting Vaughn's Vision Foundation. Let everyone know what you're doing there. Congratulations on what you do with that. The night before, I think, your induction here in Waco.
Yep, the night before my induction to the Texas Hall of Fame, we have the Gig'em Gala in College Station. I started Vaughn's Vision in 2012, and we put glasses on kids' faces. We gift the gift of sight. I've had struggles with glasses and eyesight and vision my whole entire life. So to be able to relate to some of these kids who don't have any problems in the classroom, but just other than being able to see the board, it is a honor and a privilege to help 1 or 2 kids. We've helped raise over $5 million, and this Gig'em Gala is a huge part of that. Shout out to the Aggies, and I'm so appreciative of the Aggie Network and the Aggie support. And Gig'em Gala the night before the induction of the Texas Football Hall of Fame.
How many pair of glasses do you own?
It's crazy. I probably got like 300 pair of glasses, but I wear the same pair of glasses every day. I wear the same pair of glasses and then my vision is so bad. Like when you put the glasses down and you roll over and you get ready to pick them up, and they're not there. I'm like Velma from Scooby-Doo. I can't. Or if I fall asleep with my glasses and they're in the bed somewhere, I'm not gonna find them. I have to go get another pair of glasses, put those on.
To go find it.
To go find those glasses. My eyesight is so bad.
We can both relate. Vaughn, great to have you, man. Thank you very much for your time. Congratulations on what happens this month. Good luck with your gala as well, and great to see you. And good luck wherever you end up this summer and the football season. Have a great rest of your week.
I appreciate you guys. Gig'em.
Von Miller with us, 2-time Super Bowl champion, former A&M great. Well, always never former with A&M. A&M great. This is 365 Sport. It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
If I had somebody that was looking for a car, I would definitely recommend Alan Samuels. the trust that I have, the care that they take. They genuinely want to take care of you. They really ask for your feedback when you go to the support department to make sure they're taking care of you in every way possible. So I really appreciate that they listen to your feedback.
Like Alan Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Alan Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
This 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson and Brad Wilson in Waco, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe, with an individualized approach to addressing your financial needs, including education, savings, planning for retirement, and protection strategies. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, making sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Now it's time for 365 Sports. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. Today, let's talk about blue bloods need to consider in this new era of college athletics. UNC just hired a new coach. They hired an NBA champion head coach in Mike Malone. Mike Malone has been out of coaching for a year. He was unceremoniously fired in Denver just right after winning the title. He built Nikola Jokic into a superstar, 3-time MVP. So this is going to be interesting. But UNC had to get told no a couple times, and that's not something blue bloods are used to, but it's happened a couple times, football, basketball, and whatnot, that now we need to maybe consider what it is like to be a blue blood in this era. So let's go to number 5. How much does your history matter? Look, UNC just hired Mike Malone. Great hire in the sense of it's a big deal. He's won an NBA title very recently, all that. But when you're asking these other coaches, when TJ Otzelberger tells you no, when Dusty May tells you no, when Tommy Lloyd tells you no, how much does that history really matter? How much does it matter to the recruits? Now, in North Carolina's individually case, look, they've had the greatest player of all time, Michael Jordan, that played there, so that maybe matters a little bit more, but it's getting harder and harder to make that history matter the further and further back it gets from when you were truly relevant. Number 4, are your boosters united? This is a big deal when it comes to big money boosters. Everybody's got different goals. Everybody wants to have different kinds of influence. And the ones that are successful, I'll give you Indiana football, are the ones where the boosters' goals are united. The two teams in the college football national championship game this year, Miami, for the first time in 25 years, has alignment with the president and the boosters and the AD and the coaches all the way down the line. Football and now basketball with Jay Lucas, they are absolutely in line. The minute that those spheres start to separate and you don't have a Venn diagram anymore, you've got problems. So before you go big on any of these things, do you have united boosters, or do you have a bunch of fragmented boosters who are just all longing for different ways to bring back the past? Number 3, what do you define as success? You cannot define dynasties the same way anymore. The last dynasty, well, I say that, and UConn is playing in their 3rd championship in 4 years. But you can't define dynasties the same way anymore. Dynasties have to mean multiple playoff appearances over and over again, constantly having a shot, getting deep into the NCAA tournament. For baseball and softball, making the College World Series, getting past the regionals, all those different things, those have to be more of a consideration than how many trophies do we actually have. Because as NIL and the transfer portal have entered college athletics, that becomes harder and harder because you can't have a farm system anymore. You cannot just have people that are redshirting for a year, just getting paid to practice and not playing games, and then hope that they stick around when another opportunity doesn't pop up that might be for more money. It's just not realistic, and you have to admit that to yourself as you are building your program. Number 2, big names don't equal big wins. And UNC might be the best case to say this because, look, they've done the same thing for their 2 big programs. They went and got Bill Belichick for football, and I don't think Bill Belichick has a grasp of college football or how to build a college football roster. I've been very outspoken about Mike Lombardi, his GM and head of football ops, whatever you want to call him, and what he's doing and how he's just kind of outside the normal practices of building a roster. Now, when it comes to Michael Malone, the next coach for basketball, that might be different because the ways you build an NBA roster and a college basketball roster are a little more similar than a college football roster. However, just because he just won the NBA title a couple years ago does not mean he's necessarily going to come in and turn the whole thing around. Now, does he have great contacts in Europe? Heck yeah, he does. He's got a great relationship with Nikola Jokic, his agent, which is going to help him. But big names don't always equal big wins. So make sure when you make those big swings that you're making the big swing at the right guy. And number 1, are there blue bloods anymore? Rick Pitino made this point over the weekend and said there's no blue bloods anymore. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you can still be a blue blood. I think in college basketball, it's Kansas and North Carolina and Kentucky. Those 3, Duke, those are blue bloods. UConn, blue blood. You can have that because you're always there. What defines that status might be a little bit different now about how many titles, how many times you've done this. But what doesn't exist for the blue bloods anymore is carte blanche to do whatever you want. There is competition in the market like there never was before, and you have to accept that as you're trying to recapture the glory years. The glory years for everybody, no matter how long your sustained success are never coming back. You should always be looking forward, and that's part of the problem with blue blood universities. It's always better back then. Well, you can't have back then because we can't go back. If we did, I would tell my 12-year-old self to do more sit-ups. Well, that's going to do it for the top 5. Rez, spin the old wheel. Okay. If you sold your own style of trail mix, what would you put in the bag? This is something I honestly have never thought about.
Why would you?
Yeah.
I mean, why? Andrew's digging deep there. Is there a better way to do it than it kind of already is? I mean, regular peanuts, give me a few chocolate M&Ms in there, some raisins.
I would throw some cashews in there as well to mix in.
Cashews, yes, but not the ones that are like white
with the brown outer, like pecans or none of that. No, I'd say cashews, just to change it up. But cashews, peanuts, chocolate M&Ms, raisins.
What are the little
dried
green
fruit.
things? The little tiny,
like the wasabi peas.
No, the sunflower seeds. Aren't they dried sunflower seeds that are in them? Some of them. Wasabi,
sunflower seeds. I guess in some of those you would have that, and then I just like dried fruit, like apricots or whatever. That I think it checks most of the boxes.
Yeah,
that would be about it that I would need that I could think of.
Now, if this was like your own Chex Mix, I would have a different thing. I think
it had Chex Mix in there probably to some degree.
But yeah, if you had your own Chex Mix, because I do make my own sometimes. I eschew the longer pretzels for the shorter ones because I think a lot of people put those like long, thin pretzels in there, and you're trying to eat it by the handful. And if it's a long pretzel, then you're kind of screwed up there. I think it's a miss. I like the short of the dots pretzels. You throw that in there instead of your long rolled gold pretzels, or just regular pretzels. Get a dots pretzel, like the little short sticks. It really makes it a whole lot better.
You mean like the sticks, but tinier?
Yeah, they're tinier.
Yeah, I know. I get that.
You still get the pretzel, but you don't have like it's easier to do than like a whole thing.
Here's one. This is spicy sriracha trail mix. This one looks pretty good. Yep, it's got everything we talked about.
Yeah. So
all right.
Yeah.
All right. That's interesting.
Do you have any particular favorite here?
Well,
or
no,
you
I'd
use
like I
spicy
said,
trail mix.
it's got the wasabi. It's got the sunflower seeds, peanuts, but it'd have to be cashews, regular peanuts. There's one other one. It's not pecans. I'm not a big fan of pecans. My father loved them. Almonds, and that'd be good.
Yeah.
That'd be good with it. And I'd take pretzels. I love pretzels.
I think those are the top three nuts.
Yeah.
I don't like almonds as much.
I'm a big pistachio guy, but I don't think they really meld in a
spicy peanuts, pepitas, roasted salted, Choritos hot, cashews pieces roasted unsalted. So that's kind of what we talked about.
Okay, there we go. When we come out with a 365 sports trail
the
mix,
Crouching
please
Tiger mix.
Oh, no, he's on Google.
No,
rice, green peas, soybeans, sunflower kernels.
No, come on.
Peanuts, sesame sticks. Was I think? Okay, all right, let's go.
That's terrible. Okay, first trivia question. There we go.
Of the day.
On April 6, 1992, which legendary back-to-back champion secured their second straight title by defeating Michigan's Fab Five?
That's Duke.
That is Duke.
Yeah, 92 Duke. Remember that like it was yesterday, even though I was still pretty young at that point. But that was Duke. Was that Leitner the same year?
Yep.
92
was Leitner.
The thing is that they beat an unbeaten UNLV team a year or so before that. And I was in Tampa with my mom and dad as I was going to go to training camp and stayed there and watched that game, and I was pissed because I wanted UNL. I like that kind of those rebels, literally. Wanted to see them run the table, and Duke beat them up.
The Kentucky Duke game, if you're a Catholic and you grew up going to Easter week mass, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And the Duke game the Duke Kentucky game on Saturday, we were at mass. I had to come back and watch it. I remember being so like serving mass at that time, and then coming back and being there just in time for Christian Leitner, and so distracted. But yeah, it's definitely Duke. So
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So
next,
go ahead. There we go. Yes.
There we go.
In 1992, Mike Krzyzewski's Duke Blue Devils became the first team since UCLA 73 to win consecutive national titles. They took down Michigan's famous Fab Five freshman class with a 71-51 victory in Minneapolis, cementing Grant Hill and Christian Leitner's legacies. And Grant Hill's on broadcast, and the Fab Five was on the alternate broadcast I saw the other night, and that was on at the restaurant I was at for the first half. And so I saw all the Fab Five like the entire time I was watching that game. And then Leitner, I mean, the dude could be in a coma for like 11 months, and all of a sudden March comes around. It's like, all right, Christian Leitner, let's dust him off and get him out here to talk about the shot. I mean, that's all he needs.
You know, I think about that Fab Five 30 for 30 that they did, where Jimmy King said he thought that Grant Hill was a bitch. And I just wondered if like Grant Hill walked over there and was like, hey guys.
Yeah. What's up, Jimmy?
Yeah.
How's it going?
I saw them doing it. I didn't really listen to much of it. I'm sure that was a lot of fun. I did watch some of the alternate broadcast of the women's semifinals, and there was one that was just awful. Awful.
Well, I saw one cast, and I don't remember if it was men's or women's, but it was like influencers, and I was just like, I'm good.
It was
I'm
like
good.
two girls. Was it two women? Or whatever they look like?
I think I know what you're talking about. I think they were influencers. Yeah.
Awful. It was awful. Bad idea.
You're not their target audience.
No,
so,
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to be. Okay. All right. Next one.
Only one school in history has won both the men's and women's D1 basketball championships in the same year. Who accomplished this feat?
UConn.
UConn did.
Baylor didn't, even though they have three women's. I don't think Louisville's ever done it. Florida, it's got to be UConn.
It's
Yeah.
UConn.
It's UConn.
Yeah.
Yep. Did you hear what Hurley said about Gino?
He's like,
he said, I've obviously had an influence on him when Gino acted like an idiot in that post game.
So 2004 and 2014 they've done it. In 2004, led by Emeka Okafor and Diana Taurasi, still going strong. They became the first school to sweep both titles. They repeated the championship magic a decade later in 2014. I was at the men's game that they won, and it was in Dallas. So
well, I mean, Gino was in the headlines for the wrong reasons, but man, when he retires, that's going to be just the end of an absolute
vacuum.
institution. And the men's side has been able to just keep it rolling. I mean, as I talked about earlier, is Jim Calhoun, and then you had Kevin Ollie there grab a title real quick, and then the last few years, Dan Hurley.
They'll get whoever they want because the program, because that the program's supported.
Yeah,
because the people care about it.
Well, that's the thing too. As I mentioned earlier, the whole run they've been on since '99, all these titles are up there with the UCLA teams and the Kentucky. And they've done it. The other thing about it is they've done it since '99 in such a short amount of time. They've done it with 3 different head coaches.
Yeah.
Like it's very impressive.
Yep.
Someone mentioned in the chat, Kyle Visser mentioned in the chat, Smokey, 2 birthing people. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Birthing
Women,
people like nurses or
I don't know. Maybe just don't read everything you read on.
Well, okay, let's read this one. Okay, let's go.
Okay, next up. Who will have the biggest standout game tonight? 46% picked Yaxel Lendeborg, 23 Adai Mara, 18 Taurus Reed, and 13 Alex Caravan. Yaxel Lendeborg, I've been watching that Made for March, and his story is really cool. It's really cool. JUCO guy, UAB last year, and has hit his stride. I think you see it more. I think people don't understand like how fast you can develop in basketball from 0 to 60, where you can be there, and then all of a sudden, because it's a sport about athleticism and figuring out like how to control being an athlete, that it can all just click for you. That's what's happened to Yax there.
I'd say Lendeborg's the favorite for a reason. I'll just go ahead and default to that as well. I don't have much of an opinion on the others other than, these would be the guys. And I think with Lendeborg, the only thing I have not liked was when it was back during the start of the tournament when he was talking in the post game about how he felt disrespected that they had it's like, dude, how long have you been in college? And I saw a lot of people respond that way, and I was glad they did because it's like, yeah, dude, you're badass, but you're also like 4 years older than these guys. And like freshmen got to play, man. Like they got who they got. They're going to put their players on you. So I just found that to be one of those just phony ass disrespect angles.
It's the lies that athletes tell themselves to motivate themselves.
Totally.
Yeah, that's all it is. All right, final poll question. Who cuts down the nets tonight? 67% say Michigan.
Yeah, that's most. I think that's about right. They just got Arizona. They never were in that game.
I've never felt so bad for a team I had no dog in, like other than I picked them to win.
Yeah,
I'm watching and I'm like, this is just not you guys.
Well,
this is not you.
Houston,
this is not the game we were promised.
Houston couldn't close last year against Florida, and they had them right there on the doorstep. And then Arizona never got to the doorstep. They were kicked down to the driveway.
You're talking about from a Big 12 point of view?
Yeah.
Who cares? Football is all that matters anyways.
Oh,
that's
right.
what you say after basketball doesn't work. Basketball doesn't matter. It's just about football. But, yeah, they're not winning that either. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Is there one more? Is that it?
That's it.
That's it. Andrew, thank you. Obviously, Rez, thank you very much. Garrett Ross, major part of what we do every day. Thank you. And also our sponsors, you, the viewership. For Craig and Paul, I'm David Smoak. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll talk about it tomorrow. This is 365 Sports.